looking at the times where he will steal my take verbatim and then spite me for it. Will the manifesto be done before the end of the week? I don't know. It's just so much to watch. Maybe. We'll see. Depends how many hours I put aside for it. You would kill yourself if you lived for 7 days in my shoes. 100% guaranteed. I stand by this. It's true. And he's liking people, making fun of me, this Zexy fucking loser, liking like people like making fun of me for this tweet. But then like 1 day later on his stream,
people will downplay this, man. People always downplay this, like, oh, it's just, just harassment, whatever, you deserve it, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I can say with great confidence, that the stuff that people like Lindsay Ellis, or God help us, myself, have to put up with, if experienced by an average person, actually, we'll be more specific, an average person on Twitter who's
watch how he pauses for 1 second for the number.
Currently harassing Lindsay.
And he realizes he can't say 7 because it's too close to mine, so he goes one higher and he says 8.
Lindsay Ellis. They would kill themselves in 8 seconds. Which is really impressive, right? I mean, you'd think, how in 8 seconds would you even...
It's like, yeah, I don't know. Sorry. There's so much when I, but also when I lay it all out, I can see it better for what it is. Like, I have a good idea. I understand it. I understand everything that's happening now. Vosh 100% knows what he's doing? Yeah, absolutely. He does know what he's doing. I've figured it all out. I understand more of like the drive and everything, but sorry, this is still like days away from, because I'm still in the resource gathering. I'm just like padding everything out with links. I actually, for the 5 of you that care, because people always ask me how I write these, I'm making like different, I'll release the whole project at the end so you can see like my thought process. Like I have my initial outline, which is literally like 1/4 a page. And then I have like, this will be the information dump. Then I'll have my first draft where I organize everything where it needs to be. Then my second draft will probably be doing an official write-up. And then my third draft will be the like making it look nice and sound nice. And then maybe a final draft to edit for grammar or whatever. But then you'll be able to see the state if you're like curious about the process for making these. Do you need help finding anything? I might. Once I do my information pull here, once I get everything in my first like real organized draft, I might post something on my sub like, hey, can if there's like some, because I know there's stuff out there that some users don't have. What was I gonna say? There was one more thing. We must all make our choices. What is the thesis for the Vosh manifesto then? That he's just a super spiteful politics guy? No, he's not spiteful. He's just purposeful in what he tries to do. But he's disingenuous. His goal is to, well, I think I'm going to end up repeating this like 12 times, but I go over this every time before I release the manifesto. You're going to get bored of it. But basically just, the problem with Vosh is that like he's very confused about where his position is right now. He doesn't pull any audience from the right or center, because if you're right or center, you're always watching me over Vosh. You would never watch Vosh over me, because he comes off as a partisan, insane hack. But he can't pull from the left anymore, because he wasn't able to build the bridge with Hassan, which it's funny. I got clips of him sucking off Hassan too, which is like really funny. It's funny because initially he went from, in his early stages of growth, he was attacking Hassan when he was trying to be more similar to me. I don't know if you guys remember this. I have these logs when Vosh was the guy that encouraged the editor to go public about Hassan's shit. FYI, I was the person who encouraged Hassan's would-be editor to make public his exploitation. I do hope I'm able to. So this was like a while ago. This was in mid-2020. Then he started to more kind of like simp towards Hassan. He wanted to like be friends with him. And then since it didn't work, now he's gone back to the like fuck Hassan thing. But he's in like a weird area because he can't pull from the left, because if you're more left than him, he fights with all those people now. He can't pull from the right or center because I'm a better version of him in every way. So he's like stuck in this really weird area where it's just hard for him to fight. So yeah, I think he's trying to figure out what that path forward looks like for him. But like the thing is that when I watch him, everything he does is so unbelievably performative. He's so fake in everything that he does. He's so fake in how he presents himself. It's crazy. But I understand why. I understand it all. Watching it all now, I see it. I just need to lay this out in a good document to illustrate to everybody what's happening. The kind of strange thing, though, is that typically when I make these, I don't normally aim these manifestos at people that I don't like. Normally it's for my fans and people in the middle. Because I don't think I can persuade any of them. But my goal for this is I really want this to be like, hey, if you're a Vosh fan,
keep hating your life then.
I really want you to watch this. I really want you to watch this if you're a Vosh fan. I have so many, the difference in treatment, and I'm glad I have so many of these. The difference in treatment in how I've treated him versus me is unbelievable. Like, if you're a Vosh fan and you think I'm spiteful, you just haven't watched anything. The choosing him over Basquiat and the hippy dippy thing. I took his side in the J.K. Rowling thing. I sided with him in the RGR debate. I sided with him against Demon Mama, against Professor Flowers. I sided with him in the Noah Sampson video essays thing. I said he did a good job with Charlie Kirk on Tim Pool. When people in chat try to attack him, I've got clips of me like, oh no, I don't think that's charitable what Vosh is saying. Like, there's so much of this stuff. And then when he is talking about me, it's unreal. It's crazy. And the projection too is just, okay, sorry, fuck. We're not gonna talk about this much more. It's
every position that he holds is a product of his desire to satiate an emotional need to feel smarter than other people. That is absolutely the case, and he has essentially admitted this on stream before. That's what happens when...
It's just like, it's so much projection. And then, like, here's another quick thing. Fuck, I don't want to go all through all this. This is the last thing, okay? I always wonder, like, how can Vosh get away with lying to his audience so much, okay? We're going to get into that hyper-reality concept. Here is something that I've realized with watching Vosh's stuff, how people engage with my stuff. This is kind of like, this is how I assumed the model would work, okay? Destiny would say something on his stream, and then people would take from this, maybe they don't like this particular thing about me, and then over time, this kind of like morphs into like a more extreme, like bad version of like whatever.
Obama.
So, for instance, like, Destiny might say something like here, like, I think that people that burn down buildings past 10 p.m. should be shot or whatever. I don't like violent protesters. I don't like rioters. This is my original take, right? And then the only thing people will hear from that is, like, the protesters should be shot or whatever. And then eventually it blows up into, that blows up into Destiny wants BLM protesters killed. This is what I would think that this process works as, but this isn't actually how the process works at all. What I notice is that content creators like Vosh or Hassan, what they do is they start here. This is the starting point. They don't actually start with, here's what Destiny originally said, or here's the clip of what Destiny said. Instead, they just give the most hyper, like, uncharitable, not even uncharitable, just a wrong take of what I've said. And then what happens in the future is when people start to talk about me, they'll go, hey, do you remember what Destiny said about XYZ? And what I think of when people say this, like, oh, they're referring back to this. They're not referring back to that. They're referring back to this. But what happens is if you successfully insulated your community enough, if you've got a good enough echo chamber, this becomes the reality that people hear. So anytime you become anytime you're self-referential, or anytime you reference my behavior, you're actually just self-referential to what you said about me in the past. Watching all of this is just, it's super interesting seeing how it all plays out. And there are so many examples of like Vosh doing stuff like this. So like this is like a really, really good example, right? What did I say about like all the rape discourse and the stealthing stuff? Does anybody remember? Well, if you don't remember, Vosh will tell you.
Justified. When he was doing his like rape apologia arc and like laughing and saying that like a woman who was raped was a retarded child.
So that's not even, he's like taking like 6 different arguments and combining that into one thing. Destiny said a woman that got raped is a retarded child. And when you have like, and there are so many examples of like, this is how he'll summarize earlier arguments that I've had. So then when people think of like, oh, like, well, you know, what does Destiny do? Oh, he calls women that gets raped like retarded children. They're not actually thinking back to any of the original stuff. They're just thinking back to what things that Vosh has said. And then it becomes all like yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's really, really, really interesting seeing it all play out. I'll say that much. Or like and even when Vosh has had these same problems. Okay, this is the last one for real.
Destiny, early Christmas morning, was in my subreddit defending that Mr. Girl pedophile guy against my fans.
Destiny defends pedophiles. At least here he showed the original text, which is more than I can say generally, because generally Vosh never shows the videos of mine he's critiquing. He only tells you what I said. He'll never actually show it. Whereas when I'm critiquing Vosh, I'm usually playing the full video to give him a chance to get the context out or whatever, yeah. But okay, we're backing off. Okay.
I don't know what international law would have.
Actually,
You don't have an answer for that. That's
no,
right.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Actually,
You don't have an answer for that. That's
no,
right.
no.
Okay.
You
don't have-
hey, let me finish here. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. What insights led you to reform your model of how they make such interpretations? I'm just laying it all out and watching how Vosh works on his stream. The problem too is that you have to remember this. I think I said this before, but nobody believes me. I don't watch streams, so I have a really hard time of understanding the bubbles that people live in. I truly don't have that much of an understanding because like August has drilled this into me a lot, and it's taken me a while to fully grasp this. But August told me a lot in the beginning. He's like, I think he says like, Destiny, you think that everybody sees everything, but that's not true. Like when you're making videos for YouTube, you have an audience on YouTube that never has seen your stream before. They don't watch your stream. Or you've got an audience on YouTube that doesn't know what happened on stream. So when you make videos and you talk about these things to these people, you need to understand that they live in their own little like YouTube bubble. So you have to make the video for them. And I've kind of expanded that view now to a lot of things to where I assume that everybody sees everything. Because like I see everything. I go on Twitter, I watch YouTube videos if I need to, I'll get links from streams, I'll like if I have to see stuff, I'll try to get all the information. But not a lot of people do that. A lot of people live like in their little like media bubble. So if you're like a Vosh fan, you might have never actually seen any of my content at all. The only thing you've seen are like maybe little clips on Twitter and maybe and then Vosh paraphrasing my positions. So if you're in that bubble, it starts to make more sense why people think the things they do.
Obama.
Like yesterday when Hassan claimed you said you wanted to delete Fish because you wanted him to see his dog die all over again. Yeah.
Here's just what's just like boggling my mind. This was before the news came out. This is the Buca City Council, whose Facebook page was still up. Not once did anyone talk about a massacre, and now they're saying, "Dear community of Buca, we kindly ask you not to go to the Delicia Confectory Factory because the racists mined the factory territory and poisoned the..." I don't know what that is. Is that real? I can't confirm this. Maybe I'm getting trolled here. I don't know.
Wait, did he not read this before?
Factory because the racists mined the factory territory and poisoned the... I don't know what that is.
What a loser, dude. I get more upset when I watch him now. Now that the war shit is a little bit more real, yeah. I didn't watch it for months because of all the shit people, including Vosh, said about you. Yeah, I've noticed that, yeah. New Twitter bio just dropped. Psychologists explain the hidden danger of dark empaths. People with dark personalities are narcissists about they are more likely to be callous, disagreeable, antagonistic in their nature. Such traits exist in the continuum. We all know.
Wait, are we rolling?
Oh my god. Can I be a dark empath? I feel like I understand what other people feel and think. Maybe in my early 20s.
Keep hating your life then, working class Andy.
Now I'm just an indifferent loser. What is this?
Oh my god! Lily's flower. Let my winds and the teleprompter guide you.
What the fuck? Is she vandalizing?
Simon says.
Wow. But I'm happy.
We put a flower on the Giga Chad, and she's vandalizing it. So this is proof that Pokey hates strong, independent Asian women. Wow. Not a good look for you, Chief.
Let's take a look at the mini-map.
Oh, and then one bad thing that I realized. You can't delete Twitter DMs. I get so many bad Twitter. I wanted to take like 50 screenshots to show you like this is what my harassment looks like in a week, like in a pretty typical week. But I think that people either delete accounts or what. I had some guy messaged me yesterday saying that he hoped that me and Nathan get cancer. And then he had a picture of my son with like 2 X's over his eyes, like you guys do with the dog. But I don't have that on my Twitter DMs anymore. So I don't know if people like delete their account. Do they send like one DM and then they delete their account? Or what the fuck is... or what's going on with that? I should have... I'm worried that I'm like missing a lot that I could take pictures of. He was reported and banned? Wait, do you think? Because he sent that to me in a DM. Oh, he tweeted it, and you guys banned him. Oh, fuck. Well, fuck me.
We're looking at a 100% chance of carnage.
Was he Vucious? I don't know. Some guy that sent me... I get so much harassed in my DMs. I don't fucking remember the names.
I get the worst assignments. And back to you, shopkeeper.
Harassment on Instagram? I never check these. Fuck. This is no joke. I just watched your stream and I literally physically cringed. How can you constantly only talk about Hassan and pain laugh through everything? I never watched your stream, but I was actually shocked. And the part where you talked about the girl blocking you because you harassed Hassan should really be an eye-opener. Just leave us alone, man. You will die full of hate and envy.
Bloodshed.
Here's another one. Bruh, didn't know who you were, but your life must be really sad. Really hope that better times will come for you and you can finally stop being a hater. Kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself.
I'm on location and not skirt weather. Incoming.
Obama.
Destiny Bud, I love you. Oh, thanks.
Stock up wars for low visibility locations. Find a left.
This is a definite.
Expect a spawn of dragons every 6 minutes today. Gold hunt.
Fuck, I'm so bad. Hold on. Oh, okay.
We're staying ID.
Your tweets from a few months back for people calling you. Oh, I think I have these added. I've got so much added. Don't send any more. If you haven't put, if you wanted to post it, it should have been posted in that thread. I might ask for more stuff later, but we'll see. The blatant racism. It's kind of crazy too. The Gusano shit.
We'll be right back after a word from our summoning platform.
Some of the things back before he did his huge community purges, it was kind of funny because there was a time when Vosh's community started to realize that he was being really spiteful. But he accuses me of this, but unironically, I think he banned them all because you remember back when I gave the BLM take where I was like, man, it sure is shitty for like BLM supporting Jesse Smollett, and he's still like spite-liking stuff like Destiny speedrunning the left wing of fascism, like Vosh being spiteful.
Obama.
I thought he would agree that the BLM organization defending Smollett is terrible optics. And yeah, he did. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It was
Obama.
funny. Also, his dog died like 3 years ago, but everyone's acting like he's still mourning or some shit. Yeah, seriously, grow the fuck up, okay? You had your... Never mind, I don't even want to say it. Okay, I need to talk to this person. Those communities will never believe that's racist unless you get a brown person to come in and talk about it. Oh.
Stock up wars for low visibility
What am I doing in Elden Ring right now? You see that your VOD last night has over 300,000 views in a day. Is that normal? What do my VODs normally get? Oof, August better be working on that video. We are stronger than ever before. True. I need to get back into League. We gotta temper the growth. Time for another drive for Diamond, boys.
I'm gonna need a new umbrella. Mic check. Am I coming in?
Was yesterday the most traffic ever in this chat? Is that why it lagged a bit? I'm not entirely sure. Do you see the analytics of getting more views on videos now that you're full-time YouTube streaming? I don't know if that messes up that, or if that changes much. I don't know, because I'm also doing like the new Premiere thing afterwards as well, but. Typically, honest to God, I don't know if there's like a data scientist that wants to do this. It wouldn't surprise me that like,
And the teleprompter guide you.
it wouldn't surprise me that if you like graphed my League playtime, like it would probably look something. Like if you would go to my OpGG and you would look at like the number of games played, it would probably be something like
Trust me, I'm a weather woman.
like this. Basically, every time I start losing viewership, it's because I'm playing like a lot of League. That's probably what's going on. Kick post to the server load. 7,500 brave DDD Daliban warriors. New session count high score. This couldn't have possibly been more people than during election night though, right? Unless a lot of those people just stayed in Twitch chat and YouTube chat. Oh, this tweet was so weird. President Biden and his first lady announced the death of their German Shepherd champ, calling him their constant cherished champion. Hassan made it sound like they just bought the dog and then put it down because they just bought like a designer dog. I don't know. It was really, really, really strange. That was such a weird tweet. But then I think he tried to back off later saying, oh, I wasn't saying that Biden and them did it for that reason, just that a lot of other people are. He stole the joke from Chapo? Oh, yeah, probably.
We're looking at a 100.
Cake said it was a number of messages being sent, especially polls. Gotcha. He was referencing the article from the lady who put the dog down and everyone got furious on Twitter. The Twitter meme. It's like your abuelita. My abuelita didn't do that. That was my grandma. My Cuban one was chill. Damn, my character was badass.
Minutes today.
Okay, I'm calling and talking to this person because we're just we're never getting off trans issues ever. Oh wait, this is exclusively the Trans Channel 101. Have I talked about all the trans emails that I got recently? Because I kind of, I'm not gonna lie. maybe I need different trans people to. I need different trans people to email me, okay? Because
Wait, are we rolling?
the trans people that are emailing me now are fucking radicalizing the fuck out of me, okay? Go northeast from the red area. I already went in that cave, didn't I?
5-day forecast, sunshine, rainbows, and bloodshed.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to, there's a big red blurt on the map just north of here at the bottom of the chasm. Okay, hold on. I'm going to call and talk to this person. Say in what way? The bridge north of the red. Wait, hold on. The bridge north of the red. Oh, this bridge? Haven't I already... I notice... Okay, shit. Hold on real quick. For 2 seconds. We'll talk more about this later. Ask me about this later. Maybe I'll talk more about it. Unless I'm grumpy. I noticed there's like 2 huge splits in like trans thought. This is like something that I've noticed. There's 2 big splits. One is like the Twitter trans person. So the Twitter trans person is somebody that has all their pronouns in their profile. They want everybody to know they're trans. They talk about trans constantly and all sorts of like extra special trans shit, like all the other weird, like near everything. Like that's one type of trans person. The majority of the group that emails me though are like a totally different type of trans person. They're like they want to be as invisible as possible. They don't like it when people ask them about like bathrooms or whatever shit in real life. They don't want to talk about transgender life. They just want to like pass as their gender and like that's it. They don't want to abolish gender. They don't want to change all the norms. They don't like. They like the system as is. They just want to fit into it. And it seems like that's like too hugely. I see that as like the big divergence of like trans thought. Although I'm sure there's like way more different. Obviously, there's more different thoughts as well. This is like the thing that I noticed. One of the things that kind of one of the things that was a little bit sad. I had two people that emailed me this talking about this. Is a couple people were scared to talk about some issues because they were worried that they would be transphobic. And these were trans people. These were like fully transitioned trans people. And one of the big ones that I noticed was this idea of trans medicalism, where two people that emailed me said that they really didn't like trans people that had no dysphoria because they felt like their lived experiences were nothing like those other people, and that typically when they saw those other types of people, it always felt disingenuous, but they can never say this in real life, which I thought was interesting because it sounds like a trans medical thing, but like the basically the gist of it came off as like, this is my life, like before getting on hormones, before transitioning or doing any of this stuff, like these are the horrible feelings that go into being trans. It's like all the stuff that I have to deal with. And when some people show up and like, oh, I'm trans, but I have no dysphoria at all, they didn't say that they didn't like these people, but just that like these two people said that they should have a different name for it because it feels like a fundamentally different experience, and it feels strange to call it all the same. But yeah, that was interesting to me. But all of the yeah, I was gonna say that like most of the, I was kind of hoping that I would get like a splurge of emails where there were some people like, hey, like, you know, actually the neopronoun stuff is like this and blah, blah, blah. But like the overwhelming amount of emails I got were usually people that were all from, actually every single one I think, was from people that hated all the online trans shit. That didn't like the, like where the, how more and more radical, I guess, the community's gotten. Oh, and then a lot of it is because they feel like, a lot of it comes back to the visibility thing too, where they feel like it increases visibility on them for another way. So I think one trans woman that emailed me was talking about how she hates it every single time trans sports comes up because she knows that she's going to start sticking out more and people are going to ask her for her opinion, and it's going to make her feel like less accepted or more fucked because it's going to be like so front and center. That every time these topics become big again, it's like another like othering moment for her as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, just a lot of interesting stuff. Yeah. Do you think it's possible your emails are just more likely to be from people who agree with you? That is possible. However, that's always possible. I will say that. That is possible. But when I've said stuff in the past that I'm really wrong about, I do get big corrections on it. So for instance, I have had a few people email me recently about I'm non-binary, but I experience dysphoria. I've had people email me those interesting experiences, right? Whereas prior to like, I don't even know if I believe in non-binary, but those have been interesting emails to read. I've also changed my opinions on some things because certain professionals email me and they say like, hey, you're wrong about this. Like the social worker cop thing. That was one where in the past I've argued and I've said like, I don't think we need to send cops to like mental health crises. This is so stupid. Why do we do this? Like it should just be social workers. And I got like 15 professionals like emailing me like, hey, like no one is going to send me to a scary house alone and blah, like this is like, you don't understand what goes on, blah, blah, blah. And I think I even had like 5 professionals come on to talk. I think I had 5 different ones come on my stream to talk about it too. So yeah, when I'm wrong about stuff, people email me, but yeah, I mean, all I can ever say is like email me, but yeah. How do you have dysphoria as a non-binary person? The way that it's usually described to me, I think I've seen it described in 2 different ways. One, I don't understand either of these, but one was somebody said they didn't feel a particular way about either gender, so when they presented as anything other than androgynous, they felt a bit of dysphoria. And the second one was, the second type is a person that says that they feel different ways at different times. Sometimes they seemed more feminine, and sometimes they seemed more masculine or whatever. So yeah, I don't know, but... Wait, Mel! Where are you going to the grocery store? I need these things. Chocolate chips, AAA batteries, 2% milk.
We'll be right back from our summoning platform.
Just shut the what? Be careful.
Can you show them that noise?
No. Bye.
Location and it's
Love you.
not skirt weather.
My scale batteries ran out. Jesus Christ.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Hi.
Obama.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Alright. Hey, are the birds still in the background?
No, they're not. Thank God.
I like the birds. I thought they were nice.
Well, it's not your stream, so I don't give a fuck. All right, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I am a detransitioner. I consider myself female to male to female. I was diagnosed with gender dysphoria when I was 14. My parents were not very accepting of trans people, though. So I didn't transition until I was 20. I was on hormones for about 3 years.
Were
and
you
I got
on like HRT for? I don't know if they call it HRT for men, or do they just call it TRT if you're going from female to male? What do they call it? Or
HRT can be for either trans men or trans women.
okay, were you on HRT or
sometimes-
just puberty blockers? Sorry, go ahead.
I was on HRT, so I went through a female puberty.
Okay.
Because even though I was diagnosed with gender dysphoria as a teenager, like my parents wouldn't let me do anything related to that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I was on testosterone for about 3-ish years, and I got a double mastectomy.
Okay.
And then about a year ago, I would say, I started to realize that my transition wasn't really going as planned. I wasn't passing very well, and that was a very distressing experience for me because I kind of wanted to blend in. It was very stressful to be read as trans all the time and for people not really to know how to refer to me or how to treat me. So eventually I tried living as a woman again to see if it was doable, and it was. I think my dysphoria was largely mitigated by the processes that I did get, so the hormones and the surgery. So now I just kind of live as like a butch woman.
Okay, okay, sorry, usually I do these disclaimers in text, but if I ask a question and you're not comfortable answering something, you have no obligation to answer anything. And then if there's if you feel like the conversation is going in a direction I like, you can always tell me to fuck off or whatever, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm curious. So some of these questions might be a bit too personal, or you don't have to, yeah, you don't have to say if you don't want. I'm really curious. So starting with you being 14, can you explain man, there's so many different things. Okay, you said that you were 14 and you were diagnosed with gender dysphoria, but you're in an area where it seems like your parents don't really support anything related to trans stuff.
Wait, are we rolling? Shut down.
That's right.
Can you explain what was the process of did you just go to a random therapist and they diagnosed you to that? Was it like a gender affirming care area, or how did you come across that diagnosis? How did you get to an area where you had that diagnosis?
I'm gonna need a new umbrella.
At the time, I grew up very religious. My parents were very religious. We were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they very much don't like mental health interventions. But it had gotten to the point where I was extremely depressed and suicidal almost, and that was what finally let them take me to, I believe it was a childhood therapist or counselor of some sort. And I talked to them about the feelings that I was having, and they were the ones who diagnosed me with gender dysphoria along with clinical depression and anxiety.
What were the feelings that you had? Did you feel something akin to dysphoria? Did you just feel depressed and dissociated, or what was the feelings that you felt like you had?
Kind of hard to explain. I feel like I always felt kind of like I didn't relate to a lot of the girls my age. And I was often very boyish, when I was a young child, and my friends were boys. And I remember when I started hitting puberty, it became less and less socially acceptable for me to be around boys and kind of relate to them on a fraternal sort of way.
Yeah.
And that's when my dysphoria really got worse, or when I began to kind of realize that this was something related to gender that was not just like a depression associated with like normal puberty or like teenagehood.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually. So I'm making these words up now because I haven't read this anywhere. It just kind of seems to be a thing. It feels like broadly there's like kind of like two types of dysphorias that I've seen explained to me. It feels like there's like a social gender dysphoria where there's a certain set of actions that you perform that don't align with your gender, and then people kind of give you a lot of social pushback for it. And then it feels like there's like this internal sexual dysphoria where you have like this kind of like disgust or this dissociated feeling from your body because of how it looks. Do you feel like your dysphoria was mainly the social one? Do you feel like it was a combination of the two? Do you feel like one led to the other? Or do you reject this dichotomy at all? Or yeah, I'm curious about that. Did you ever have a feeling of like an intense dislike of your body? Or was it mainly tied to a lot of the social roles that you were expected to take on or behaviors that you had to have?
I feel like it was mostly towards the social stuff. I did realize when I got older, I feel like some of the sexual dysphoria, dysmorphia, kind of got worse as time went on. But I do feel like the worse that my social dysphoria got, the worse that my sex dysphoria got.
Gotcha.
So it was like being treated as a woman, being seen in this way that I didn't want to be seen, kind of made me feel worse about myself and feeling like I needed to change myself so that people saw me the way that I wanted to be seen.
Sure. Something that I've had described to me a lot now that I didn't even realize was a thing. I'm curious if this happened with you. A lot of trans people that have emailed me have described that, like, I think it's literally like the day or second day that they start HRT, there's like this like wash of relief over their body that something feels like fundamentally or markedly different. Do you recall feeling that way when you started HRT, or did you have a different feeling, or?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I did feel that. I felt that, yeah, it was pretty much like I don't know if it was like psychological more than physical, because I was also like looking for effects to start on like day 1 or 2
Sure,
or 3.
yeah.
It doesn't really, it doesn't work that way. But yeah, it for sure did make me feel a lot better about myself getting on HRT. But I did feel like over time, that feeling began to wane. And I think part of that was just because I did have very like unrealistic expectations for what HRT would do for me.
Gotcha. Okay, so these get like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase these. These get like kind of personal, so again, if you're not comfortable answering, you don't have to. It feels like socially, female to male is a bit easier in terms of passing because you can have kind of like effeminate or androgynous looking men, and they seem to be accepted more than like androgynous looking women because they tend to just be seen as masculine. Did you have a hard time, like, even if you dressed kind of manly, were people still like misgendering you, or you just didn't feel like you fit in, or what was the feeling of like, why do you feel like you how could you tell, I guess, that you weren't passing the way that you wanted to be?
So yeah, I did try to appear as masculine as possible. Like, I only wore men's clothes. I styled my hair in like a masculine sort of way. But I was pretty, not consistently, but fairly often getting still called a woman. And I think it was mostly because of things that were a lot harder to control. So like the way my body is shaped, like I have pretty wide hips, so people would notice that.
Sure.
And like the way that I walked, or like having a bit of a round face, those are things that people would notice. And eventually I would try additional things like trying to do voice training, or like stifling your mannerisms to seem a little bit more masculine, trying to walk in a different way, but it didn't always work. And eventually I started considering getting like facial masculinization surgery and procedures like this. But I felt like I didn't want them on like a personal level. It felt like I wanted them just so that I could blend in better. And I was very worried, like, what if I got this and it did help me pass, but I don't like the way that I look anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, what if I get them and I don't pass? What then?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I had to reframe like what I wanted to do in terms of like my transition. If I wanted to keep trying to go towards this goal that I had, that might never be quite attainable.
Sure. Did you try to like fully socially transition before getting on hormones, or did you do everything kind of at the same time?
So I began hormones about 3 months after coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little bit of a wait, but I certainly didn't get all of my like social bearings together by
Gotcha.
the time I started hormones.
So on timelines, you were on hormones for, was it 3 years?
Yeah, thereabout.
Why, I guess, actually, wait, before getting, because I'm curious, like, what made you decide to slowly change your mind? How did you decide to start? So I imagine your parents probably weren't too supportive. Had you heard about, like, any trans stuff, like, publicly? Like, did you, like, were there YouTubers you watched or, like, friends at school that knew anything? Or were you, like, in a really conservative area? Or how did you, like, get to the point where you made the decision to, like, I want to start transitioning?
So, like, I heard about being trans when I was probably fairly young, and like a lot of people describe it as like something clicking, and it very much felt that way for me. Where once I heard about this concept, it felt like I related to that very much. But I was never like super active in any, like there wasn't any trans or really LGBT groups where I was growing up, because it was like a very, very rural conservative community. But even when I got older, I wasn't really involved in trans communities very much. Yeah,
When you
so
say
it wasn't like,
when you say a matter of it clicking, are you saying that, like, as soon as when you were 14 and you got the
Nice no
diagnosis, you were
damage.
like, oh, this makes a lot of sense? Or
yeah.
gotcha. So then I guess how did you, if you got drugs as a teenager, I imagine your parents approved it. What was the process like with them approving it? Like, why were they on board with it if they were initially, or go ahead.
Well, no, I didn't transition as a teenager. I just got the diagnosis of gender dysphoria.
Oh,
when I was a
gotcha.
teenager.
So you were
I didn't transition until I was 20.
20. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so it was after you were an adult.
Yeah.
What did your parents have any input or try to help you or do anything, I guess, to avoid you having to go the drug route when you had that diagnosis, or
No, not really.
they just told you that you'll grow out of it? Basically, they didn't offer any support.
Yeah, I started antidepressants pretty soon after that, and that did help to a certain degree. But as far as like gender dysphoria itself and like feeling this incongruence with my gender, they just kind of pretended like it wasn't there.
Gotcha. So, okay, so 14 you got the diagnosis. When you were 20 you started to actually transition. You were on that for 3 years, you said?
Yes.
And then you changed. Okay, so talk to me about like how you finally got this idea that, well, maybe this isn't the right path for me, or like what moved you in that direction, I guess.
So I guess it was just thinking like, after 3 years on testosterone, it felt like I had gotten most of the changes that I could expect from it. So it was just kind of coming to terms with the fact that like, this isn't going to be like a matter of just waiting for the effects to kick in for me to start passing. And I already felt like I was trying really, really hard to pass. And I didn't know if this was going to be something that I would have to do forever. And that thought was just very distressing for me, because it was getting to the point where I couldn't be very present in like social situations, because I was so obsessed with like, how does my voice sound right now? Or like, am I being too feminine with my mannerisms?
Yeah.
Or waiting for somebody to use a pronoun to see how they viewed me. And that was just very tiring. And realizing that made me feel like I needed to just reassess how things were going.
So this is like this is kind of a probing question, but like it sounds like, hold on, let me phrase this better. It seems like, or do you ever wonder that it could be the case that actually this, you are trans and that was the right path, but maybe you just like weren't getting the results that you wanted, so now you're kind of like, I don't want to say like taking the path of least resistance, but like, yeah, how do you know, or I guess, so you described yourself as being like you've, I think you use the term butch lesbian, right? Or butch woman, basically?
Butch woman.
Butch woman, yeah, not lesbian, butch woman. So you use the term butch woman. Like, is the internal view of yourself now as like a masculine woman, or like like you're still trans but you just didn't get the results that you wanted, or like how does all that work? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very complicated.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I don't expect you to
yeah.
have like a 100% like here's the answer to this question. Of course, I'm sure there's still like a lot of this that you're even still thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I see it is like, I do feel like if things had gone the way I wanted it to during my transition, then I probably still would be living like as a trans man today. But I don't necessarily think that that means I'm just like a trans man in denial, or that like that's the only way I could live. Because I just feel like when I made the decision to transition, I did it because I wanted to better myself and live in a way that felt best for me. And it felt like the longer I was going on without reaching my transition goals, the further away I was getting from that original goal. Like, it no longer felt like it was for me. It no longer felt like it was bettering me as a person.
Do you think? Okay, so these are tougher questions. I understand this. Okay, sorry, I'm repeating this a lot, so it doesn't feel like I'm trying to like box you or anything. Because it almost sounds like you. Hold on, let me think for a second for how I want to phrase this.
Okay.
Well, so because one question that I would be curious to ask, what I would ask is, do you feel like there's, in a perfect world, do you feel like there is something you wish you would have heard to keep you from ever transitioning initially? But that doesn't seem like the appropriate question. The appropriate question now seems like, in a perfect world, do you wish that there would have been a way for you to perfectly transition? Because then if you would have, I imagine you would be living as a trans male today, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like if there was a perfect world where I could just, look exactly how I want to look and be read as a male all the time, that would have saved me from a lot of grief and struggle. But at the same time, I do feel like, I don't regret transitioning. I'm glad that I did it. And I feel like I know myself a lot better now that I did. Something that's interesting is that, like, when you ID as trans, there's a lot of pressure to be like 100% sure of it.
Yeah.
And for a while, when I was IDing as a trans man, I framed my experiences in a sort of way that reaffirmed that identity. So there were certain times where I felt like I related more to women.
I don't get
But I
it.
felt like I wasn't able to really express that because I was a man, or I wanted to be seen as a man.
Sure. So
and I
some
feel
struggles
like-
you'd end up reframing basically as like trying to make it fit into this like male paradigm kind of, or
Right, yeah. And then, when I went through the process of detransitioning, I was able to kind of think about those experiences again and recognize that, maybe this was the way things were supposed to be. I don't know if that makes sense.
As
Like,
in you were
maybe I
supposed
wasn't-
to, like, or what? Yeah, what do you mean when you say that?
Like, maybe being a binary trans man wasn't exactly how I felt about myself,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like the best option that I had at the time,
Sure.
or it was the only way that I knew how to express some of the feelings that I had.
Do you one of the things that I have the most difficulty with as somebody that I say, or I feel like I'm not that attached to my gender, but I mean, it's hard for me to know that, right? Because I've only lived as my gender, right? So maybe I would feel a lot differently. One of the questions that I kind of always have internally for trans people is, how do you know that you're not just like a very like a masculine woman, or you're just like a woman that has like a lot of behaviors that are kind of like masculine versus like feeling like a man? I guess now having like transition and detransition and kind of like living on both ends of the kind of the sex spectrum, and then like changing your presentation and everything, do you have any like feelings about that question, or like is there a big difference to you emotionally? Or yeah, I'm curious to hear you like speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's really tricky to figure out for
Yeah.
sure. Like I've talked to people who've had like similar experiences to me, where they go like in a very binary direction, and then they go back, or they're not really sure if that was the right decision. And it's very easy to get like caught in these thought loops of like, am I a man? Am I a woman? Am I something in between? And you can go down those loops forever.
Yeah,
Like,
of course. Yeah.
it's very difficult. The way that I try to think about it isn't so much like teasing out this one static identity that's inside of yourself that you need to figure out, but more like actionable things, I suppose. Like, how do I want to be seen in terms of my gender or my sex? Is there like, are there characteristics that I would rather change about myself? And using those as starting points rather than just like abstract feelings.
Sure. Have you ever wrestled with the concept of like non-binary? Like, do you ever think that might be a better explainer for your, I guess, your gender or your feelings? Or
Yeah, so I've had people tell me that they think I might be non-binary, and I very much understand that, because there are obviously I transitioned, so there's some sort of like gender non-conforming thing there. And I certainly have like experiences that are both kind of like male typical and experiences that are female typical, so somewhere in between might make sense. I guess for me personally, there's just, I have a hard time figuring out the difference between like actually being neither a man or a woman and just being kind of like a woman in a different sort of way. Like,
gotcha.
how do I distinguish between being like non-binary and just being like a gender non-conforming woman?
Yeah, this is always like, and understandably, this is like an incredibly difficult question. I don't know if anybody has a good answer to this, but it's always something that's so curious. Like, how do you see yourself as being like a feminine person versus a woman, or like a masculine? Like, what's the difference between masculinity and male, or femininity and female? Like, what does that exist like inside? I kind of already asked this. You said it was a really difficult question, and I understand it's really difficult, but yeah, I don't know. Now you present at, do you have any, so you don't regret like the whole transition process? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, why? Because you feel like it let you explore yourself more, or because it was the best thing to do at the time, or what does that feel like? Yeah.
A bit of both of those. Like, I was definitely operating on like the best options and information that I had for myself at the time. So I don't want to like blame myself for, you know, eventually coming back to where I started.
For sure.
And I do think that I learned a lot about myself and kind of what my goals are, how I want to be seen by people. And also I do think that I still benefit from what I got out of transition. So like, even now, even though I know like I might look a little strange because I had a double mastectomy. I still am glad that I got it, because I think if I hadn't, I would still have like a lot of dysphoria around my chest. I feel like maybe to a certain extent, the only reason why I was only able to detransition and be okay with that was because I was able to mitigate my dysphoria through transitioning.
Interesting. Let me just think about that for a second.
Okay.
So something that I would ask is, it feels like a lot of women view their breasts as being a really important part of their femininity. That's like really big. Because I've dated smaller chested women and talked to smaller chested women, and one of the big complaints for women with smaller boobs is that it makes them feel sometimes like less of a woman, because they don't have that, like, the shape of their body, that like prototypical thing. And it's not even like I want big boobs so I can show off huge cleavage to everybody. It's just that like boobs feel like a pretty like defining thing sometimes, at least what we're told socially of, or at least in the West, for femininity. So you feel, I guess, you feel now like a lot of your dysphoria was alleviated because of what is like gender affirming surgery, right? Because of top surgery. But now you feel like you're back in like the woman area. The only reason you're okay being a woman now is because you're, I don't want to say slightly less of a woman. That sounds horrible. But right, because you've gotten rid of some feminine features. I guess like a lot of what you described to me, it sounds like, well, I don't even know really what non-binary is, but it sounds more and more like that, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Talk. I'm just like blurting out random stuff. I'm just curious. I don't have any solid answers here. I don't expect you to have any either. Yeah, but
Yeah, that's something I've thought about as well. Is like, I can say that I'm a woman, and in some senses that feels right, but you know, I do have to grapple with the fact that most women do like having breasts and do feel like that's part of their identity as a woman, and would be very distressed if, you know, they had to get a mastectomy for like cancer or something like that. So I, you know, maybe I am non-binary, but I don't know. When it comes to like identity labels, they feel more theoretical than practical. I feel like I could say, you know, I'm a woman or I'm non-binary, but I don't think that's going to change like how I present myself or how people are going to treat me or refer to me, unless I, you know, ask them to do so.
So before, if you would have been identified as a woman while you were trying to present as a male, that would have bothered you. If people immediately see you and they identify you as a woman, does that not cause you trouble anymore because you're seen as like a different type of woman? Or do you think you've... Well, I guess so with that question, to frame the context of that question, one thing that people will often say, usually it's right-wingers, right? I'm not trying to like give any of that thing, but like sometimes people say like, oh, like sometimes being trans can be like a confusing part of adolescence that you kind of like grow out of. Do you feel like you've kind of grown out of that, or do you feel like you've changed a bit, like through your personal exploration that doesn't bother you, or like how do you feel in terms of that, like people identify you as a woman, but now it causes you less issue?
But I kind of feel like I talked myself out of being socially dysphoric to a certain extent. So when I was first going through all of this, I tried thinking about like, well, why does it make me so upset when people view me as a woman? And the answer that I had for myself was that, well, society has all these expectations for women and these ideas for what a woman should be, and I don't want those things to be placed on me. I don't want people to think that that's what I need to be. And that's what was so distressing to me. But I felt like, you know, whether I was trans or cis, I feel like it's probably wrong to assume that because someone's a woman that they have to act a certain way or be a certain way. So I feel like that would be a bad thing regardless of whether I was dysphoric about it or not. So I try to think now that, like, if somebody is reading me as a woman or telling me that I'm a woman, referring to me a certain way, that it doesn't necessarily have to mean that they're ascribing all of these stereotypically feminine things to me, or saying that's how I need to be.
Do you feel like did you have when you were going through the process of transitioning outside of your teens and everything, when you turned 20, I imagine you got to speak to other trans people, yeah? You got to
Yeah.
Do you feel like your experience was atypical? Do you feel like your experience was typical, or do you feel like there is no typical experience? All of them are fairly unique. I'm mainly hitting on with this question. Earlier, I said it seems like there's this like social dysphoria, and there's like this physical, biological dysphoria, and it feels like yours was heavily on the social side. Do you feel like that was pretty normal for for most trans people, or do you feel like some of them hit it like really big on the biological side and not the social side? Yeah, I'm curious. What were your feelings about that, or your thoughts on that for the people that you spoke with?
I feel like people, as far as like me relating to them, I did feel like a lot of my dysphoria was maybe more socially oriented than others. And before we started our call, you were talking a little bit about how there are kind of like two camps of trans people.
Yeah.
And I feel like people who kind of have this more assimilationist view, I guess, of transness often tend to have like a quite biologically oriented dysphoria, or at least that's what I've noticed in my experience. As far as if I felt like my experience was typical, I did feel like, so a lot of trans men will describe themselves as like they are men and they are transgender, and
Wait, did you say they're men or bear men?
they're men.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, just making sure. Okay. A lot of trans men will describe themselves as that they're men. Okay, gotcha.
They're men who are transgender. But for me, I felt more uncomfortable like saying that I was just another type of man. I felt like I was a trans man, not just a man who was transgender. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit. Like how internalized was your new identity? And it felt like you hadn't fully internalized the concept of being male. You still felt like a woman that was just like on drugs or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a little bit of a different gender from being a man. So like seeing trans man and man as like two separate categories.
Which I think,
and
to be fair, I think that's pretty common of a lot of people. It's like
yeah.
I hate to say this because I don't want to give people more power to be transphobic, but like I think secretly, or from things that I've read, like the biggest fear of like a trans person is that like everybody around them is like treating them one way, but they still secretly see them as like you're a man that's pretending or whatever, and that's like a huge like imposter syndrome fear that a lot of people have relating to I guess like trans stuff.
For sure. And I think it's difficult to say, like, was that like a sign that I was not just a binary trans man, or was that like just internalized fear that I wasn't going to be read the way that I wanted to be read? Or yeah, it's just hard to kind of figure out what that was exactly. I'm sorry, my cats are being insane right now.
You're fine, I can't hear him, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anything else you wanna go over or chat about, or?
I don't know. Like, I guess have you had like any talks with detransitioners before, or do you have any background on this topic, or?
Yeah, I mean, you probably know this better than I do. It's an incredibly contentious area.
Yeah.
Yeah, because conservatives want to use you as examples of basically child abuse. It feels like some trans communities don't want to acknowledge your existence at all.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit strange. Yeah, I think detransitioners represent like a scary thing, because theoretically there are parts of your story that can be utilized to say like, well, look, this person talked themselves out of being trans. Everybody can, right? It's all fake. Yeah, it's just it's a really hard topic to get into. Like as soon as you get into anything relating to detransition, you're in like a war battlefield. Do you ever feel that pull in real life? Do you ever? I don't know like how embedded you are in like local social issues. I don't know where you live or whatever. Do you ever feel like this is something that you kind of deal with, or?
not really in real life, but certainly online.
Yeah. Do you live
yeah.
in you don't have to tell me the city. I don't know if you're comfortable. Do you live like in a is it a pretty conservative area or?
I live in Chicago, in the city, so
Okay.
quite progressive.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, the polarization is really crazy. And when I first started thinking about detransitioning, I looked for spaces online, or like research sources of some sort, and it was
Yeah.
it was horrible. It's like you said, like on one side it felt like, often trans groups felt like they needed to say that detransitioning was always because of transphobia, and if it's for any other reason, then those people are just cisgender, and we don't really need to pay attention to them in the trans community. And that could be very alienating because, I did live several years with of the way my body is. And then on the other side, yeah, like you said, the idea that, well,
Like it's really hard to narrow all this out, and it's really hard. It's even harder to find like a place to have those conversations where somebody isn't trying to hijack your narrative for whatever political pet project or cause they feel strongly about, which is really unfortunate.
yeah, I agree for sure. It can be very difficult, and it's very difficult as well for people who are considering detransitioning because there aren't really spaces to question or to explore those feelings without, people taking those ideas and running with them and saying, you're going to end up regretting this, you're going to end up questioning this if you go through with transitioning.
Do you, when you were thinking about, I guess, like detransitioning, and it was a matter of you, I guess, just stopping your drugs, did you talk to any professionals about that, or was it just a personal decision you made on your own, or?
No, I didn't talk to any professionals about it. I actually did it very irresponsibly. I was very afraid that if I talked to a doctor about it, they would try to talk me out of it, or I would somehow receive, some sort of stigma or backlash for it.
Wait, when you talk to like a medical professional about it, they try to talk you out of it, or?
I was afraid that would happen.
Oh, you were afraid that would happen. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because I'd heard stories like that before, and so I just stopped taking my hormones entirely, and just never returned to my doctor to tell them about it. And it turns out that's actually a pretty common experience for people who end up detransitioning. I think there's a stat that says that only like a quarter of them end up telling their doctors about it, just because they're afraid of what they might respond with.
Were you ever were you in therapy during all of this?
Not during the process of detransitioning. I was in therapy when I first started transitioning, but yeah, not when I was considering detransitioning.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you ever talk to your therapist about, was it like somebody that specialized in trans issues or stuff like that, or was it just like a run-of-the-mill therapist, or?
It was just a normal therapist. I think I was actually her first trans client, so it was a little bit rocky for both of us, I think.
Gotcha. Interesting. When you, oh yeah, so something that I asked before is it feels like trans people tell me, and it's hard to tell how much of this is placebo versus not, and I think they've even admitted as much in my emails. People say that when they started taking drugs, they like almost like the day of or like the next day, like mentally they felt a lot better. When you stopped taking drugs, did you start to feel worse, or was it just kind of whatever, or?
Points where I felt worse, yeah. And as a result of that, I kind of went on and off for a little while. But part of that is also because I think testosterone does up your energy a lot. So part of, I think, why I was feeling so bad was just because I was, down a lot of energy, and that was something that I really needed to get used to. But I did eventually, kind of get back to a normal base level mental health.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to, I don't know if I have any. Are you still on like SSRIs for depression or anything, or?
Yeah, I am.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I think that's basically all I have. I can't think of anything else. Unless there's anything else you want to bring up or talk about.
No. I think that hit on a lot of stuff.
Oh wait, actually, I do have one more question. You talked about how it seemed like initially a lot of the dysphoria was kind of like it felt a little bit socially reinforced, like women have to be a certain way, and you didn't like that. Do you think that today in your life, do you feel like you embraced like the tomboyish parts of yourself and now you're just comfortable acting that way, or do you feel like you act more feminine because you're okay with acting feminine, or like how do you, like in terms of actions, how do you live now in like that male female like binary, or the masculine feminine binary of behavior?
I think for the most part, it is like kind of embracing that like butch tomboy sort of feeling that I've always had. But in certain ways, I do feel more comfortable now being feminine in some areas. Like, obviously, the way I talk is pretty feminine mannerisms, but for the most part, I try to like disconnect from too heavily gendering things about myself, just because I think it does contribute to like getting into the thought loops, you know, about like, am I is this woman presenting? Is this like androgynous? Like, how are people going to see me for this? I try to kind of distance myself from making decisions about my presentation based on, you know, whether they're masculine or feminine. But I do feel like I fall pretty naturally in like a butch tomboy sort of aesthetic.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about or share about your experience or anything, or?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of, I suppose.
Okay, well, hold on, one guy's spamming. My question, please. What? Please, my question. Can you ask if when she first thought of detransitioning, if the idea clicked again like when she originally got the dysphoria diagnosis?
No, it didn't. I had to explore that a lot more, because I think it was less about like an internal experience and more about like what actions I wanted to take in my day-to-day life, if that makes sense.
Actually, so I'm going to ask a question about that click.
Okay.
Because I'm curious. When you feel like you said that like you had like a click when the trans experience was described to you, do you, and this is a really hard question, I understand. Do you feel like you had a click and that like this genuinely explained like, oh my God, I think this is what I'm going through? Or do you think it was more, or do you think there's a chance that it might have just been like, fuck, I have all these problems and this is something that I haven't heard before, so maybe this is it?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. It's a hard one. I do feel like for some people, transitioning can be a little bit of an escape, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so an article that we read.
Yourself.
Yeah, the big Jesse Signal one, I think. Signal? I don't remember his name. I should know, I'm talking to him tomorrow. But that was kind of expressed is that like there are problems that teenagers go through that can relate to identity, and that one worry, I guess, not to say that this is a huge thing that happens or that like all trans people are fake, whatever, I'm not trying to say that, but that one worry might be that like if you have problems as a teenager and you're having trouble figuring out your identity, sometimes like being like trans might be like a way with like, oh my God, I think that maybe this is the thing, even if you don't necessarily know yet. So I was kind of curious when you described like that click. Yeah, but
yeah, and now that you mention it, like there definitely was a lot going on in my life, and I guess it's not impossible that it could have been like sort of a form of escape and like building this new persona for myself, but I'm not comfortable saying like 100% one way or another.
Sure.
I think I'd have to talk or think about it a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. If there's anything else that you feel like, if I have conversations related to this stuff or anything comes up, feel free to shoot me a message or an email. I'm always interested to hear. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for talking to me. I know you've been doing a lot of trans discussions lately, so I hope it wasn't too terribly painful.
No, I thought it was interesting. I appreciate the conversation. So,
All right. Well, you have a good one, Destiny.
yep. Have a good one. I don't even think these are bosses. I think these are normal enemies that just respawn when you kill them. I fucking hate these bear things. Have you ever tried poutine? And if you do you like it? Poutine is easily... This is just correct, okay? Sorry, this is just correct. Poutine is easily the most overrated fucking thing in the world. It's like fucking French fries and cheese curds. Like, it's not bad. I think you'd be like... I think you'd be crazy to just like, oh, poutine is horrible. But it's like... like, Canadians, like, hype the fuck out of it. Like, so much, and it's like, it's okay, like, it's not bad, but like, I don't know, I just think it's, I think the problem is like Canada doesn't have like very much culture or anything that like separates them from America, because they're kind of like America light, so they have like the this is like one of their things, and yeah. Destiny only had cheap poutine. Yeah, that's always like the go-to. I mean, there was some restaurant in, I don't remember, I think it was Vancouver. No, I think it was Toronto. But you have like some restaurant that serves like 400 different types of poutine, or maybe there are multiple kinds. I don't know. I've had it at a couple places, but it's just like whatever. It's like, it's not bad. It's fine. I mean, it's super unhealthy, but like, it's like, okay. Can you know your sexuality without having a sexual relationship? I don't think your relationship to your sexuality is necessarily related to your, or your sexual identity is related to your sexuality, right? I don't know if you have to do that.
Obama.
Bro, the turn bite thing is so obnoxious. Holy shit. Thoughts on funnel cake, most underrated food? Basically, I don't know what it is, but basically anything that comes out of a fryer at a carnival is guaranteed to be fucking delicious. I don't know if they have like some fucked up like oil that they use at whatever the fuck it is, but you can basically put anything into like into a cheap nasty fryer at a fucking fair, and whatever comes out is just gonna be 10 out of 10 junk food. Dude, the most disgusting fucking sounding thing in the world, fucking fried Oreos. The first time I tried that shit, dude, I couldn't believe it was just like eating cancer, but it was so good. Oh my god. I think I could just eat until I die. I think I would just eat until my stomach explodes and I die. I think that's what would happen, given enough of those. Oh my god. Have you ever had a deep fried Mars bar? I have not. You ever had deep fried PB&Js? Nope. Guys, need to skip gym again? Well, I was out of town Friday, but no, actually, I'm never skipping the gym now. Sometimes I just have deload days where I don't go, okay? Dr. Mike helped us. So now we don't feel like shit when we miss. Okay, what? He didn't even hit me. What? Okay, this like turn and bite that thing. Fuck. I can't see. Have you ever had venison? Yeah, actually. And there's a spa called Yasaragi in Stockholm, or it's like 40 minutes out. I think I had some there last. As long as it's prepared properly, it's usually okay. me turn on donos so we can catch up.
The meme jacker becomes the meme jacked.
Why did you stop going to the gym years ago? Oh, I can actually answer this a lot better now. Okay. I don't know if it's because I might just be like naturally like a less muscular or lower testosterone person, or just because I played video games or whatever. But I think there were two huge things that kept me from going to the gym in the past. One was that compound lifts are really hard. They're really difficult to learn how to like squat or deadlift correctly. Like I still wouldn't say that like my squat or deadlift are 100%. I still think there are things I can improve. They're hard lifts to learn. And I kind of expect to be able to like watch a YouTube video, read a book, listen to a trainer, be able to do it. But like it takes a lot of practice to get these lifts down, like anatomically correct, like to get them down well. So there's one. There's like this constant process of like training, injuring yourself, relearning, et cetera, et cetera. That was a really hard part of the past, is doing that, because it's really hard to find good like technique guides as well, because everybody says different shit and it's like all fucking cancerous. That's one. The second really big thing is I hate saying this so much because I used to make fun of NNN, and I think Hillshire all the time for this, this bullshit, is the concept of RPE. The only cover to cover book I'd read on lifting, aside from like the Fit Sticky and all that, was Starting Strength. And I'd never ever heard of the concept of managing fatigue. I didn't know anything about that. Because if you read Starting Strength, or if you read any beginner lifting program, people always tell you like, oh, well, the way to lift as a beginner is you go to the gym, you do every single lift to failure, and you do that for like 2 years and get your beginner gains. Okay? That's, well, at least for my body, that's bullshit. And one of the things that would happen a lot in the past, and it still happens now, but now I know how to deal with it, is we all know what it feels like to be individually fatigued on a muscle. Like you go to the gym, you go to lift, and you're just not as strong as you should be on a muscle because like you haven't recovered all the way, right? So maybe you take like 1 day off or whatever, and then you go back to it. But I think something that would happen in the past is as I'd lift, I would start to cap out on all of my lifts. But my cap out was lower than it should have been. Like my bench press would cap out at like 105 and I couldn't get past it. My squat would be stuck at like 120 and I just couldn't go past it. My deadlift would be stuck at like 150 and I can't go past. And but it got to the point where I would like stick on all my lifts. And it's like, okay, well, what's happening if your lifts are like sticking? You need to go harder. Every single day at the gym was like RPE 10, RPE 10, RPE 10.5. Every single fucking day was training to failure. And then it wasn't until recently that I realized like, okay, we're gonna try like, let's not do that. Or if I am hitting this point where my lifts are hitting this, like I'm at like a fucking RPE 10 on every lift, every set, every day I'm at the gym, let's take like 1 week to lift like half the fucking weight. And then we're going to come back next week and see what happens. And I did like the first time I've ever done that in my life was like, I think a month ago. And it worked. It worked super well. I took 1 week off basically. No, really it was. I think I did 1 day where I lifted 50% and then I just didn't work out at all the other 2 days. And then when I came back the next week, I started 20 pounds lower on every lift. And then I started approaching my maxes again, and then I just went past all my maxes. I blew past everything. But before, like, so when I stopped before on my last, when I deloaded, like my squat was at like 165, and I'm dying, okay? It's like, there are times when or at least for me, when my body's like, I wake up in the morning, it's like, whew, okay. My knee on my right side feels a little bit fucked. My left calf is really iffy. My adductor might be torn. I don't know. My back is you're like dying. And it's like, this is my gym day, we're gonna do it. I guess like as you hit like the end of like your training stretches, you're like, oh god, like you're so fucking sore everywhere. But then after doing like that week deload, I would hit all of my old maxes, but I felt like super healthy, and I still feel healthy now because I think I'm only like 2 weeks into it. I hit all my maxes where, okay, I'm squatting 165 again, but I feel like super healthy. I feel really good. My knees are healthy, my legs feel good, like I don't have any soreness between workouts, like I feel great. So I imagine that then, so I'll keep this up for another 4 weeks on this like strength mesocycle. And then I feel like probably at the end of these 4 weeks, my body's gonna start to feel like super beat up again. And then you just take another week deload, and then you hit like your next training cycle. But that like, the reason, so the original question was like, why did you stop working in the past? The 2 reasons were, 1 is because learning the compound lifts is really, really hard. And 2 was because managing fatigue for your whole body is something that I just had no concept of. I've never heard of that. I'd always just heard that like every time you go to the gym, every single time you go to the gym, you're pushing every max, lift to failure, every lift. But I don't, at least for my body, I can't do that. Maybe some guys can. I mean, maybe like some, if you like train as a high school athlete, you have really high, you're like a 950 natural testosterone guy. Maybe people can do that, but I can't do that. So yeah, learning that, I would say those are the two like most important things. Oh, and then something that Gojo stresses a lot is that like lifting is very much like a marathon thing, not like a sprint. Like like your training is done in like 6 to 8 week cycles. It's not day by day, right? Like how much weight you put on the bar between now and tomorrow, or now in the like week training cycle is not important. It's like how much strength can you accomplish over like your 6 to 8 week training cycles. Like that's like the important part. So reframing all of that in that way, I think has helped quite a bit. Yeah. Nibbert says you should never train to failure. Stick to RBs of 7 to 9 for your final set of every exercise. Yeah, that's basically what I've been trying to do now, yeah. You can train to failure, but the problem with training to failure is you accumulate so much fatigue that whatever minuscule strength gain you make doing it is going to be erased by the fact that you're going to have to deload earlier, or you're going to have to like lessen your lifts sooner because you're just like, you're destroying your body for not really even like that much of a greater strength gain. At least as a beginner. Maybe later on in your training, I'm sure that, like, again, everything I'm saying is still beginner oriented, because but if you're advanced, you're listening before weightlifting shit, you're probably fucked anyway. So. Dude, this turn is so annoying. What is harder, getting your ass to the gym or keeping your diet in check? This is probably different for everybody, but working out is the easiest part of working out. I don't think the gym is hard. It's having the discipline to recover between times. The diet is really easy for me now, as long as you have the food available. My diet has been really good for the past 2 months, except for when I go out with like friends or whatever. Because I like every morning I'm eating oatmeal. Every morning it's like 2 protein scoops of oatmeal. It's half a scoop of chocolate chips. It's a scoop of casein protein, and then like 1 cup of milk. I eat that for breakfast every morning. Then we have 1 Red Bull at like 3 o'clock, and then I eat 1 of the trifecta meals. Then I drink 1 Soylent, and then I have my protein powder shake. But I'm also, warning though, I am mega autistic and I can eat the same shit every day for months. No person that I've ever been with has ever been okay with that. Like, if I'm with a girl and I'm like, oh, do you want to go to like Chipotle again? And she'll be like, oh, we went to Chipotle like on Monday. And it's like, okay, bitch, it's Thursday. Are you serious? Do you need like what kind of animal are you that you need this food variety every single day? Like, fucking grow up. It's good food. Fuck you. Like, so yeah, I don't know. So I feel like the diet is okay as long as you have the shit down. I'm too lazy to do it, but like honestly, I think you should probably learn meal prepping. It just seems like really good if you can do it. 'Cause you can just cook off a ton of fucking food at the beginning of the week and do it. I think another the hardest thing for me right now is getting my sleep in check. I think sleep is really, really, really important. Yeah. What's your reasoning for your protein choice, casein? I don't know. I don't think I'm ever gonna order it again. I thought that it was gonna be normal like whey protein. Dude, I drank, the most I've suffered in my life is drinking a casein protein shake. Oh my god, it was suffering. It was pain. Dude, it was 1.5 cups of milk and 2 of the scoops of casein. It was like drinking a concrete mix of this nasty tasting fucking... Oh my, I had no idea. I didn't know that it was like that. I had no idea. But I mix it with my oatmeal because supposedly I've heard that casein protein keeps you full for longer. So like if I eat it with my oatmeal in the morning, it's not it hopefully keeps me a little bit fuller until lunch or dinner. So that's why I eat it with my that's why I eat it with my oatmeal. But also if I mix it in with food, it's like it's easy to eat. It's not like I taste it or it's like really fucked, because it's like it's already in my food, so it's whatever. I was gonna do like the thing where I was gonna drink like my protein shake at night was gonna be all casein protein, but that might be my limit as a lifter. That's the sacrifice I'm not prepared to make, is drinking casein protein shakes, because I can't do it. I will never ever ever do it. Because it digests slower than whey. Yeah.
Let's take a look at the mini-map.
What is Barrett's link? Is it actually a good link, or is he posting meme shit he's about to get banned for because he's trying to link me something in the middle of a fucking fight? Oof, gotcha that time. The difference between protein powder types are minimal anyway. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna make a big difference. Why do you go to the gym 3 times a week? I just do full body workout every day because I'm still like a beginner duder.
Expect a spawn of dragons every 6 minutes today.
Right.
Jesus.
Let my winds and the teleprompter guide you.
Can you share your routine? You really shouldn't be copying routines from me. My routine is basically like starting strength plus some accessory movements. That's basically what I do. Like my Monday would be squat, bench, deadlift. I do lateral shoulder raises, and then lat pull downs until I can do pull ups well enough for like sets of 5 or 10. Then my Wednesdays would be squat, overhead press, and then I do Romanian deadlifts because cleans or power cleans are for losers. And then I do like, I'll do like bicep curls, tricep push downs or extensions, and Penlay rows. I think those are my 3 accessory rows. It's basically like, but the most important things are just the big compound lifts. Have you tried pull-ups recently? What's your lat pull down? My lat pull down is at 130 by 6. 130 I do pause reps. I might be able to do pull-ups now because I could do at least 1 clean pull-up I think 10 pounds ago. And I think I've lost a couple pounds now and my lat pull down is a little stronger. I'll try it. But
We're looking at a 100% chance of carnage.
I just don't want to start doing pull-ups if they're not clean as fuck. Like I think like a good pull-up is like your entire body is stiff. You're not like bending your legs or kicking yourself up. Like, so if I can't do like a pull-up like that, I'm not gonna do like 5 pull-ups where I'm like doing like half wannabe bottom parts of a muscle up to try to like kick. Like I think that's stupid. Like if you can't do like a slow controlled, like the problem is that like on a lat pull down, I can do like a nice controlled full range of motion lat pull down. But like if the pull-up isn't the same, then I just do lat pull downs until I can do those pull-ups. Jesus. Do you work out with a coach or anything? Sometimes I post clips for Gojo or for Hillshire to critique in chat. Have you tried out work with bands? I try to avoid bands because of the, I'm really paranoid about the, difference in resistance at different range of motions. It always makes me like paranoid. Because like in my opinion, I feel like the hardest part of a pull-up is the bottom position. Like I think I could do pull-ups like this, but starting from here is like really hard. This is like the hardest part. So if I have a band that's helping me all the way at the bottom, it feels like I don't know. Why do I have music playing?
We're seeing ideal conditions for a gorgeous lane.
Do you incorporate cardio or do you plan in the future? I try to do stuff on my off days. Like I try to walk a lot. It's the initial movement that's the most difficult for people that can't do them, maybe.
Stock up wars for locations.
Most people get stuck halfway for pull-ups. Yeah, maybe. Or it's really hard to get the final, the final range of motion for a pull-up is also the hardest, I think. Because you can do a pull-up to where, because for it to be a true pull-up, I think the bar should be under your chin. If you're pulling up to like here, it's not really a pull-up. It should, I think the bar should probably be here, right? If you're doing, because on a lat pull down, it's the same. Like if you do a lat pull down and you're getting it to like here, you're doing something different. That's not the full exercise. You should be able to get to this point. Yeah, I'm not sure though. You want to use band stuff, you get the full range of motion on the pull-up and slowly lower the band resistance over time. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I should be able to just do the left pull-up machine until I can do it, I would imagine. Do you have an assisted pull-up machine at your gym? No. Is vegan protein powder not as good as whey? I can't answer any of that. I don't know anything about different types of protein. I think Hillshire. Am I making this up? Is Hillshire vegan in chat? Oh, fuck me. What am I doing?
Sunshine, rainbows, and bloodshed.
Jesus. You guys need Trenaball and test and D-ball? It's tempting. It really is tempting, I think. Because it feels like the more you get into it, like I said, like the easiest part I think the most disappointing thing about working out is that the easiest part is at the gym, because you want to feel like, because when you look at like training montages and stuff, like like a movie training montage is you at the gym like you're fucking screaming, and that's like, that's it, this is where the gains are made. But like the real life training montage is like, it's 10 o'clock at night and I want to play a few games of League, but I really need to sleep, otherwise my gains are going to disappear. Or like, you know, I have to eat this food to make sure that I'm getting enough protein. Or like, you know, like I need to be like, that's the real training montage. It's all the like ultra boring recovery shit that you have to do in between the gym. That's like the hardest thing. It'd be cool if you could just go to the gym and be like a fucking animal, and this is where like all your gains are, but chances are you're just gonna hurt yourself and not accomplish anything. Okay. How did that hit me? What?
Let's take a look at the mini-map.
Hit Kyle from picking. No, I don't think I'd ever do that. Yeah, I don't know. But who knows? The thing is, I think we're moving into a world where every single guy is going to be on TRT, because I think it's becoming more and more available, and it's so easy. Because I remember when I went to check like 7 years ago, they were, I don't know if it's the same now, or I don't know what people do now, but they were telling me that like they can basically put like a pellet in your butt, and then like I think that'll give you enough tea for like a year. Like it's like a once a year thing or some shit, and it's just like a really easy thing to like juice the fuck up. Yeah, it's so cringe. Yeah, so like so I think it's really important for me personally when you lift. It's really important that it's not like a race against other people. You're not competing with everybody else. That's important to feel. But like, it is kind of dumb that there's a lot of guys, I think, that will bullshit themselves. It's like, oh, like I need TRT, like I need it. Like, no, you don't. You're in gear, motherfucker. The that Psych Substance guy, who I love, he's a really cool dude. But like, if you've ever seen that dude, he's like, you know, yeah, I felt like I felt like I was a little bit low T when I started working out. So now I'm on TRT and I've noticed that my gains are a lot better. And it's like, bro. Like, yeah, how's the fucking TRT like helping you a little bit? Yeah, I think it's probably assisted a little bit in the game. So I kind of wonder if we're moving to a world where like every single guy is gonna be on TRT, because it's so easy to get now. But it's like, Jesus Christ, isn't TRT way more complicated than putting T in your body? Don't you need to monitor it closely to other substances? I mean, like, you're supposed to keep your, is it testosterone and estrogen levels are supposed to be kept in a certain balance in your body, but he does admit in a recent video that he regrets doing it. Oh, did he say that? Oh.
I'm gonna need a new umbrella.
This is just dedicated to how hard it is for Half-Thor Bjorn to consume 10,000 calories a day. 10,000 calories a day, bro. Take me to a bakery. We can do 5,000 calories in 30 minutes.
Wait, are we rolling?
Destiny, read my message. It's literally just promoting body dysmorphia for men. Imagine years from now, some kid wants to go to the gym and all he sees is mass monsters everywhere, like you were talking about. Yeah, that's kind of what I wonder. Oh, that was another thing too. I've said this a million times, and I'm gonna say this a million times more. I'm never, ever, ever gonna stop saying this. Having spent like a decent amount of time like going to different gyms and like looking at people's bodies and everything now, everybody online lies about their lifts. Everybody online lies. Don't ever feel bad comparing your lifts to people online. Bro, when you go online, everybody's been lifting for 6 months, benches 225, squats 3 plates, and pulls 4 plates. Every motherfucker online does it. They all lie about their lifts. Holy shit. That actually was something that it did bother me early on, because everybody's like, oh, beginner gains, bro. Like, you'll be squatting, you know, like, you should be squatting 2 plates, like, I would say, like, a month or 2 in a training. Like, this is, like, everybody online essentially. It's like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. But I started to pay more attention when I was, like, at the gym. I was like, wait a second. Like, it's incredibly rare at a major gym to find a man that, like, pulls more than 225 off the ground. Like, when people are pulling 3 plates, that's pretty rare. But when you go online... 3 plates is like the floor. When you're online, it's like you're pulling 405 at least, or you're a fucking nobody. So yeah, I don't know, like it just, yeah, or even like watching people squatting 2 plates or more at the gym is like, it's pretty rare. You don't usually see most people do that. Like this is like the, like, these are like the stronger people at the gym. So it's interesting that when you read about people's numbers online, they're insane.
Let's take a look at the mini-map.
Isn't that just some selection bias? Like the people who are going to brag about those numbers are the people who are pulling 4 plates. Sure, but relevant thread. I've barely ever seen someone bench 2 plates or more than 3 plates in my commercial gym. Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. Here's my. This is true. If somebody's benching 2 plates at your like commercial gym, they're strong. But like online, 225 is like, yeah, that's my warm up. If I come in cold, maybe I'll, you know, I'll put up like 15 or 20 reps of 225. But now, okay, so the first comment is either going to be, this is absolutely true, everyone online lies, or it's going to be, you're going to the wrong gym, and all the true lifters are at like the strong power gyms. What's it going to be? Deleted. Oh, sure. Fuck. You loser. So many reps, 225 is a monster in my book. Oh. Instagram is full of roids and fake plates. 3 plates. Oh, okay. Yeah. Never mind. Well, yeah. I had 220. I had 255 for 3 last week. Felt fucking good, but my life is a mess, and it's all I really have. Jeez. I go to a bodybuilding gym. I'm sure there are some like specialty gyms. Yeah. I got spotted by a guy at my local gym who was benching almost 4 plates and wearing a shirt that says "Socialism works for those who don't." Jeez. Do you do mobility work, or do you have any plans to do it? I don't even know what that means. Like stretching and shit? Are 24/7 gyms rare in the US? Destiny always seems to say they are, but I haven't seen a non-24-hour gym in years. In California, none of the gyms were 24/7 after COVID. Even the 24-hour fitnesses were closing at 10 o'clock. No, they were closing at like 9 o'clock. It was fucking annoying. There used to be 24-hour gyms. Like in Omaha, I had one, and then in Glendale, which is north of LA, I had one. But I do a lot of like rehab work for my shoulders. I used to joke about it all the time, that like it seems like everybody that benches like injures their shoulders, and I became that guy. So, but my shoulder is like almost better. I can feel that it's almost gotten better. I'm so happy. I almost killed this fucking bear once.
Obama.
I'm never gonna kill it. You want to talk to a trans person? That's the question you're supposed to do. Trans you talk to. I kind of disagree with some of her framing, which would agree. Shoot me an email, Gammy. Aren't you the internet like trans Nazi? Doesn't everybody hate you on Twitter? Not everybody, but like the people that I fight with, I think hate the fuck out of you. I feel like you said your shoulder's better like 4 times in the past 6 months. Yeah, but now it's really getting better. It's truly getting better now, okay? Like I can do this every morning with very little pain. I think my benching, the arch shit, I think helps a lot. It's better. What? I just rolled like 3 times. Like I have ADHD for no reason. What did you do to injure it for so long? I heard it. I don't know how I heard it initially, but I think just the problem was that. Oh, something else you'll learn lifting. I've seen the Lily Reddit thing. You guys have posted this at least 5 million fucking times in chat. I think the one important thing is you have to learn like what injuries you can work through and what injuries you can't. I think it's always important to keep working. You never stop unless you're super fucked. But I had like a weird pain for my shoulder a long time, but I just kept working through it because I figured it was no big deal. And I did that for probably like 2 months, and then it got, and then it got ultra omega fucked. So yeah, I don't know. Do dumbbell presses instead of benching. You won't be able to put as much weight, but it's safer and much better range of motion. You should be able to bench press, hopefully.
We're looking at a 100% chance of carnage.
Did you see someone about your shoulder? I did recently, but I stopped going. I feel bad. I probably shouldn't, but anytime somebody does anything that, like, if I start doing studies on it or reading studies on it, I say there's no reason to do it. I just don't trust them for anything. So he did like that cupping shit. I think I showed you guys like the market. He did the cupping stuff, and it's like I don't think there's any scientific evidence for it. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna listen. I'm not gonna fuck it. You don't need to kill this bear to progress. I do. The bear gives you nothing? The bear has my honor. I need to get it back.
What a scoop.
Nope. Wait. That hit? Interesting. Oh, shit. Okay. Hold on. No, the turn. It's always, the turn always gets me, dude. What time would it take to bench 2 plates if you're a noob? It's going to depend on your starting level of fitness. It'll depend on how much you weigh, how tall you are. Like, I don't know. If you're like a young, healthy dude and you're starting from nothing, but you're like decently physically active, you could probably get a 2-plate bench in under a year. I would imagine, probably. If you're like a really fit like young guy that like does sports and shit. If you're like a normal person that's training and you're like working your way up from like an average level strength, probably like 2 years, maybe. But I mean, like it's super like different people start in way different areas in terms of like physical fitness, right? 2 plates is 225. Seriously? Have you heard of set point theory for weight loss? Yeah, I don't know if I believe it or not, but I have heard of it.
Expect to spawn a dragon.
Who's the Gen Xer you're talking about? I don't know, some Gen X guy wanted to chat. There we go. You know the shoulder rehab shit Destiny won't tell me, and I think I need to do it. Okay, you don't even know if your problem is the same as mine. So why the fuck would you think that anything that I do is gonna help you? Like, do you care about your end of workout volume on the app? Oh no. I guess it's nice to see it go up. It makes me feel good, but it's not like I don't think that that's like meaningful. Although I think once you get stronger, like the total amount of work that you get done, which is defined by like weight moved through space, like total volume or whatever, it might be important, but. I don't think it matters for me. This fucking bear. What's your overhead deadlift at? You know, I haven't been doing that exercise as much. Anime music when you work out, I usually throw on some fucking Eminem. Okay, I need to feel the hatred flowing through me. You ever get your shoulder clicking on your bench press? Dude, my shoulder clicks on so many different things. I don't think the sound matters as long as you're not like feeling any pain. Because I do like, because all my rehab shit is like weird, like around the world stuff and like all these full front raises and back raises. But like depending on what I'm doing, like when I'm doing lateral raises, I think I can hear like clicks sometimes. But it just happens. But I don't think it matters much. It's just like, isn't like, it's not cerebral spinal fluid because it's not in your fucking spine. But isn't it just like fluids that move around like when you're cracking your knuckles? Elbow should be pointed 45 degrees from your body when you bench. Sure. Okay. Tendons rolling over each other too? Yeah, maybe. You closer to picking up an activity like BJJ with Melina? Maybe. I don't know. How long is the workout for you if you don't waste any time? If I'm not wasting any time, it's probably about an hour and a half. If I'm doing 5 lifts, probably, yeah. Including like my warm-ups and everything. What the fuck? If you bench double your weight, can you do a one-handed pull-up? Those are different muscles, but you know what, dude? I'm so bad! Have your abs developed at all? Yeah, they've probably gotten way bigger. But I can't see them. I got a belly. Everything I've read says that you should keep a lift session between half an hour and an hour because of severe diminishing returns. You have to be really careful because like there's a lot of mainstream fitness websites that just don't like, you have to learn like which websites are good or not. Like there's a website called like Men's Health. If you Google like any fitness related question, Men's Health comes up. Everything in that website is trash. Like there's literally nothing worth reading on that. There's literally nothing worth reading on that website about workout related stuff. 30 minutes is not enough time for me to do any workout. I think if I spent 30 minutes at the gym, that would be just squatting, right? If I'm on the treadmill for 10 minutes and then I warm up and I'm taking like anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes between a set, like I'm squatting in 30 minutes. That's it. And then I'm going home. Why would I waste time getting my body warmed up to just do one exercise? Like, fuck that. Oh my God. What's your favorite bro science meme? The when I fuck your mom, I get stronger. Got it. Yeah, I think that when people, if somebody intelligent is talking to you about volume, I don't think they're ever speaking about how long you spend at the gym. I think they're probably going to be talking about how many working sets you're doing, right? Like if you spend an hour and a half at the gym, but you do like 15, working sets or whatever, then it's probably fine. But if you're like, oh, I go to the gym for a half hour and I do like 36 work sets or whatever, it's like, what the fuck are you? You're doing a lot of shit. I went through that phase because initially I was like just a good starting strength boy. And then I started to add more and more accessory lifts because I was like, wait a second, these are actually a lot of fun. And I think at my worst, I think I was doing like, I think it was like 12 different exercises per day. So I'd go to the gym for like 2 hours and I would have like 33 fucking sets that I'd be doing, work sets of lifts. And it was just like fucking retarded as fuck. But it was fun because again, it's fun being at the gym. It's fun doing a lot of different lifts. It's like, I want to like, fuck, I can only do like 3 or 4 big compounds and I'm done. That's boring as fuck. So doing like 20 different lifts is fun, but it's probably a waste of time and you don't really need to. Yeah. Okay. Demon Mama versus Vegan Gains. Oh God, about what?
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
It's on veganism. Who?
Hi.
What's your rest time between sets? It depends on the lift. For squats, I'm back up to like, I'll take a full like 4 to 5 minutes because I don't fucking care. Bench press is probably like 3 minutes. And then for anything that involves like a machine or like dumbbells, it's probably like 2-ish minutes. It just depends on what it was. Chad said this debate was a fucking banger. Watch it. Is it? Have you looked into climbing or bouldering? No, because I'm just trying to get all my muscles in gear, okay? If I start doing like an exercise like that, I feel like I'm going to super unbalance my shit. And I'm going to take away from my lifting.
Pretty good. Just making sure all of our audio levels are fine here.
I'm streaming this myself too, by the way, just so you know.
It's perfectly fine. I always assume that most people are going to be streaming it. I'm just going to boost your audio just a tiny bit. Can you give me a test real quick?
Test. Hello.
All right, that sounds like it's probably going to be just fine. Chat, let me know if the audio levels need any further adjustments as this goes on. Real quick, what do you want me to list your name and pronouns as? Do you just go by Vegan Gains generally, or?
Yeah, Vegan Gains. You can call me Richard. That's my real name, and I identify as male.
Okay, so he,
him.
Alrighty, we gotcha. All right. Well, welcome to the Demon Mama show. Happy to have you. I've heard a lot about you over the years. I don't know if you've heard about me.
This has got to be insane.
I mean, assume you have because you came here, but I don't know how much you know about me. But welcome to the show. I understand you want to talk about veganism. Did you have a particular topic in veganism you want to talk about, or were you just looking to
so bad!
Have a general discussion, like whatever?
Well, we could have a bit of a general discussion, but I wanted to bring up a specific point first.
Okay, sure.
I saw a video you made recently where you... I don't know if maybe it's not. I don't know. Do you change your hair color pretty frequently?
I mean, I think the last veganism video I did was like months ago. But yeah, I mean the schedule is hectic. But I just recently cut my hair, and previously it was colored quite drastically.
Harry Potter looking ass.
Okay, yeah. So
or Harriet Potter? Does that count as? I don't know if that counted as transphobic. Sorry, I meant the other thing. It's because of the hair, okay?
And where you're saying you agree with vegans, and vegans won't acknowledge that, but they just like constantly try to be combative with you.
Yeah, it's a frustration I've had with the vegan advocates for a long time, which is that I think that they make a lot of good arguments for veganism and for the ethical value of veganism, but I don't think that's really good enough. I don't think just making a moral case is the way that you win. I don't think that you can just sort of like proclaim...
Oh my god, it's the thing! It's the thing, okay? I'm sorry, I'm gonna point this out every time I see it now, because it... Oh, fuck, I just... Oh my god, did it really go through the whole...
Yeah, because you came here, but I don't know how much you know about me. But welcome to the show. I understand you want to talk about veganism. Did you have a particular topic in
Why won't the arrows work correctly?
You... I don't know if maybe it's not. I don't know. Do you change your hair color pretty frequently?
I mean...
Saying you agree with vegans, and vegans won't acknowledge that, but they just like constantly try to be combative with you.
Yeah, it's a frustration I've had with the vegan advocates for a long time, which is that I think that they make a lot of good arguments for veganism and for the ethical value of veganism, but I don't think that's really good enough.
Okay, that's a fine opening statement, okay? They make a lot of arguments for the morality of veganism, but that's not enough. Now, it feels like she's about to talk for like 45 more seconds and basically just say that same fucking thing over and over and over again. Why do people do this? Just say the thing and then shut the fuck up and let the other person respond. Why do you have to draw this out like 12 times? But let's see what happens, okay?
I don't think just making a moral case is the way that you win. I don't think that you can just sort of like proclaim and make a case for morality without like, I don't know, and then just call it good. And I think that's what in my experience, a lot of vegan activists I've engaged with are very, very focused on the morality of veganism and the individual morality of people's actions, and they generally fail to engage with like people with the practical application of veganism and how you for a world that is better to animals in general, if not fully vegan. And so that's something I've had a number of videos where I've talked about this. I've also had quite a few videos where I argue against anti-vegan people, because ultimately I do think that the argument for not just animal liberation, but also for a diet that doesn't involve killing animals. I think those are good things. I think those are very good things to aspire to. But I also recognize that a lot of people really struggle with that. Quite deeply, and in bringing that up, in bringing up the struggles and in attempting to address those struggles, I've encountered from a lot of vegan activists what I would consider to be genuine pushback that I find unhelpful and also personally very annoying. So yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Like I recall a debate you had with Dr. Avi a while ago. Do you remember that debate?
Yeah, I think it was about gender with him.
No, I think maybe it was someone else, but
Might have been somebody else.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking somebody else, but did you have the position that it's okay for like people to kill animals due to cultural reasons, like Native Americans, some of their rituals and stuff?
No, I think
No?
that
Okay.
no. My
I must
position
be
on that
thinking of
has always
someone
been a
different
little
then.
more complicated. I don't think that it can be like. I think a lot of I think certain vegans will ignore culturally important activities, but I tend to think that even if an activity is culturally important, if it causes harm, that we should challenge it. I mean, I grew up in a
No one cares about your
hyper-traditionalist,
example.
family, is a nice way of putting it. I grew up in a cult. And there were lots of things that they considered to be culturally important that I think were morally wrong. So I don't really think that like this is a part of our culture. Is
Yeah, why are you
necessarily just,
restating
like,
it? Do you
like
do you
a
hear it
blanket
all? The
defense.
restate, like.
I think there are some cases where it can be made.
Oh,
and I
he's
also
restating it
think
again.
that, like, it's not a huge. At least personally,
It's
when I look at
Jack.
this sort of issue, I don't think like native cultures using animals in ceremonies or eating meat ceremonially is like is a statistically meaningful thing that we should worry about all that much.
Jesus
I think
Christ.
That, meat eating culture and meat subsidies and the meat packing industry, these are like much bigger issues to focus on. I think that sometimes people get I don't know, they become more interested again in like having a moral triumph.
Yes!
Or something,
You're restating
in which
the
they're
initial
willing to just,
thing.
like jump down and say, yeah, I think that like we should like.
This is
I
back-
don't
we're
give
already-
a
we went
shit.
one
You
sentence
hear this
back.
sometimes with like in the
Obama.
debate circles, like, yeah, I don't give a fucking shit. If native people eat meat, that's still bad. Like, you think it's gonna be okay if they like kill kids or whatever? It's like the answer is obviously no. But fixating on like, but if you're addressing the problem of meat eating and your first thought is to like,
Dude,
target
I
a
wouldn't be able to. Oh my God.
portion of the population that eats meat for a religious purpose, I just think you're focusing on things incorrectly. So, yeah, that would be my take on that
Okay.
particular issue.
All right, cool. So, are you vegan?
I am not. Like, I mean, I don't know what you mean when you mean vegan. Do you mean like do I always eat it, or I mean, I'm aspirationally vegan. I've been very slowly and surely like clipping meat out of my diet, but you know, it's slow going. I struggle with it because specifically because over time I've had a lot of dietary issues, and so it's really.
I'm gonna do something I said to Melina this morning. My problem is not with people like this or Hassan or Vosh. I just don't my problem is with their fans. How do people watch this and like think like, yeah, this is like really good. This is a good content creator. We're getting some good shit here. Like, how does this person have people that watch them and is like nodding along? It's like, yeah, cool, absolutely, totally, bro. I'm aspirationally vegan as well. Like, oh my God.
Difficult for me on a personal level, but that doesn't mean I don't try. It's definitely something I would like to get to, but I always
Yeah, that's
describe
why you're
myself
we
sort of
understand.
aspirationally so. I've been in a slow process of
Yeah, we know. Why are you saying the
eliminating,
same thing again?
as much meat as possible from my diet.
You've already said
but I'm not
this.
there yet.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
It doesn't sound like you believe there's like that much of a moral urgency to cut meat out of your diet.
I would disagree with that. I mean, I think that there is a like. I mean, I guess.
Wait, no,
maybe,
you can't
maybe
disagree
there's
with
some
yourself.
accuracy
You
in
just
saying
said
that
this in the beginning, that
my
making the moral
personal
argument wasn't
diet,
sufficient.
Isn't the moral urgency that I like that I fixate on. Partially because I don't think that like
Keep hating your life
any
then, working class
individual's
Andy.
meat consumption is really the issue at hand. I don't really think that. I think it's a weird approach to me. And this is one of the areas where I've clashed with a lot of different vegan people, is that I don't really, when I talk about veganism, I don't really focus on.
I hate it when people are too cowardly to like just stake out a position. Like, dudette, just pick a position, stake it out, and fight with it. She like knows she's trying like so fucking hard not to stake out like a position that could actually be attacked. Dude, Mark of the Salamander, it's so hard to level your summoning up for smithing. It's actually so obnoxious. Okay, sorry. So just like pick a position, dude.
Individual people's diets at like basically at all. I don't really care. I'm more about discussing how do we make it easier for people to eat less meat. How do we make it less incentivized to produce and eat meat? How do we get people to think about the rights of sentient beings in general? I don't really fixate much on people's individual diets, and the reason for that is because I think that there are significant cultural and social like
It wouldn't surprise me if at this point in the debate, getting like 2x talking time from the other person is huge. 3x is like probably almost unheard of. I think Demon Mama is legitimately, I'm not exaggerating, I think she's probably at like 10x talking time. Like I think she's spoken for 10 times longer than Richard at this point. Like it's unbelievable. Jesus.
factors that lead to people having a lot of meat in their diet that don't actually like they're not their individual diet choices are not the issue at hand. It's the fact that like we have a government that's willing to discount the price of meat functionally because they like that, because there is lobbying from the meat industry, because there is lobbying from the producers of meat, because there is
lobbying
and ideological
That's why we eat meat in the
I
US, guys.
Focus on that shit more than individual people's diets, even my own. So I guess I just I don't really feel a whole lot of personal moral urgency over whether me or any other person individually eats some meat sometimes, because I think the harm is very minimal in comparison.
Oh my
to the
God, we
overall
know,
culture of meat eating, which goes much deeper than anybody's individual choice, if that makes sense.
I think we're gonna have a big disagreement there because I think individual choice certainly should be focused on, and I think the only way you're gonna make systemic changes is if
Yeah, that's true. If meat wasn't subsidized, it would not be consumed as much. Hey, bro, big news flash. All of agriculture is pretty fucking heavily subsidized in the United States, okay?
individuals hold themselves accountable, for one thing. So,
Maybe. I mean, we might have just a different philosophy on like how large societal changes happen. While I do think
well,
that
I understand like government oversight and incentivization and shit like that. It does make a big difference, and we do eventually have to get to that goal where, yeah, systemically, like top down, the government has to like ban meat eating, stuff like that.
Oh,
but,
I don't even necessarily agree with that. I don't even think that.
Really,
like,
you don't think meat should be banned?
I mean, I don't know that meat will ever be banned. I don't really. My politics, I don't tend to focus on like top-down state initiatives. Although I do think that could work. And if a meat ban could be issued, I think that like provided that like provided it's not just like Thanos snapped and people starve and whatever. Provided you could do a meat ban, I think that would probably be relatively agreeable. I mean, I think a lot of people would have a problem with that, and I think a lot of people would have sort of legitimate complaints of their own about that. But my politics, I don't tend to focus on like, should we have a government that imposes this, but rather how do we work? How do we as people and as groups, how do we actually push society in a way that really bad things aren't allowed to happen in the first place? Like, I don't imagine that, like, I guess to me it seems like a pipe dream to ever have an imperial government ban meat eating. How are you ever going to convince a government that believes that it's okay to bomb people? That's
Oh
okay to
my
wage war
God.
How are you ever going to convince them that they shouldn't exploit animals? It won't happen. So it's not
very
something.
easy.
I disagree with you on that. I think that's not an easy thing to
Yeah,
convince people
I
to
think
do.
I think it's pretty realistic and easy for one thing. So let me just ask you this. Let's say
Well, actually, before
don't
you
know.
ask me that, if it's very easy, why hasn't it happened yet? Vegans have been around for quite a while. If it's so easy to convince
Well,
the
it
government
hasn't
You can always tell that she starts combat mode when she's, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm the only one that's noticed this. Maybe this is even true. But when she starts doing this thing where she's like, she starts to get a bit more specific, okay, and she starts like looking at chat more, and she starts doing this like bouncy shit, you know that she's like riled up. She's about to go. I think she just started doing it. Hold on, or I might be making this up. Maybe she wasn't. But I think that when he disagreed with her there, you started to see the
animals. It won't happen.
Here it comes.
So
Watch.
it's not
Very
something.
easy.
Watch it.
I disagree with you on that. I think that's.
Wait
I think
for it.
that's not an easy thing. To
yeah,
convince people
I
to
think
do.
I think it's pretty realistic.
Now
and
we're
easy
doing
for
the
one
chat
thing.
looks.
So let me just ask you this. Let's say.
Oh, she's
Well,
getting.
actually, before
I
you
don't know,
ask me
Joe-
that, if it's very easy,
Oh,
why hasn't
and then here it
happened
comes.
yet? Vegans have been around for quite a while.
Uh-oh.
If it's so easy to convince.
Well,
the
it
government
hasn't
to ban
happened
meat.
because there hasn't been the political will to do it.
See the
But,
do you see the
do you
bounces?
think there might be a reason for that?
Can you see the bounces? They're there.
Yeah, because most people eat meat, and there's big lobbying groups as well, and there's just not much political will to do it. Just like how there hasn't been much political will in the U.S. to legalize marijuana. It's easy.
Obama.
I
could
think
do it
there's
as
a lot
like
more.
with
There's
a
a lot
snap of
more
the
political
fingers.
will to. But I mean, okay, but wait, but you're talking about two different things. Like, for example, Joe Biden could
Okay, well,
at the
wait.
snap of
We're going a little off track, and I just wanted to ask you a question.
Sure,
Like, if
sure.
At the snap of a finger, get rid of student debt. That's what she was
Joe
about to say, by the way.
Biden were to say, okay, we're going to ban slaughterhouses and ban the sale of meat, and the only substitutes you could buy are either lab-grown meat, mock meats made out of soy, whatever, and they're going to make that transition within the next few months or years so that there isn't like a food shortage. Would you be in favor of that or not?
Do you see the bounce?
Yeah, that sounds perfectly fine to me.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a problem with I don't really have like a problem with the government taking action against meat production. I just don't think I don't think in the current like paradigm that it's likely to be the case, and I don't think that there's any.
I thought she said she wouldn't do it though.
To do so.
Am I crazy?
Governments don't generally act out of their own interest. America already has massive meat production, and it's very profitable for the people who are in power currently. So I don't imagine that there's going to be like that we'll ever get a law that bans bans slaughterhouses. It would be cool if we did, but I just don't think that's the case. I think that what we have to do is we have to, like, at least the way that I approach talking about veganism, I think it has to be approached on a cultural level. That what we have to do is not really, and I don't mean this like, I actually think that yes, it is great to encourage people to pursue veganism.
Holy
That's perfectly fine. I
shit.
have no issue with that. My problem is that I think that a lot of vegan activists and activism, at least the ones I've engaged with, the ones that I was addressing in the video you mentioned at the beginning, tend to fixate very, very much on individual people's diets as opposed to like, okay, what are the things that are actually preventing people in the current paradigm from making this change? Because like, well, I disagree with that. See, that's another area where I disagree. And one of my main frustrations with vegans is that they seem incapable of actually acknowledging the issues that people have with becoming vegans. In fact, almost to a degree where it's almost delusional. And
Can you let him say something instead of calling him delusional?
Because I don't think that.
Well, let's start from here.
Sure.
You've claimed to have your own problems with going vegan, correct? Like you have some dietary issues. I don't know if you have like an eating disorder or something.
No, I just I have a couple of years ago I had my gallbladder out, which means that my intestines are fucking crazy sensitive to everything, and I get sick a lot. So it really sucks. But
that sounds like an argument against eating meat.
I'm trying to.
Don't meat and dairy especially tend to like fuck
my
with
aim
your.
is to cut down red meat, for example.
Yeah, red
because
meat
it isn't
especially.
helpful at all. But the reality is that like it can be pretty hard for me to put together a pure vegan diet on my schedule on this with the fact that my stomach is the way that it is. It's just a complication that's happened. I don't think it's like a get out of jail free card or anything like that. But then again, I also don't look at this
Her
like that,
schedule?
Really. I think that being informative.
Doesn't she stream like 3 hours? How long does she actually stream for?
Wait until my seeds take root.
Maybe she streams for like, I don't know. Maybe she streams like 6 hours a day or something. I don't know.
Teaching people and generally moving away from meat is a perfectly fine way to approach the issue.
She streams like
The
3
thing
times
is,
a
it
week.
seems like a lot of vegans seem to have a problem with that.
Okay, so let's just argue from your context specifically. Let's say human meat was on your plate.
Sure.
It didn't give you any stomach issues, and you wanted to transition away from eating humans to eating plants, and there's no other meat available. There's only human meat, but if you want to be vegan, you either, or sorry, the only options you have are either eat human meat or go totally vegan. If those were your options, would you be vegan right now?
If those were my options, if my only options were to eat a plate of human meat.
Oh my god, dude, this thing that she does where dude, now that I've seen the Demon Mama debate strategies and I've like looked at it enough, every time she does it, it drives me crazy. That where she like restates the question while nervously scrolling chat to see like if there's an answer in there for the dumb shit that she's about to say. Like, oh my god, it's so fucking annoying. Oh my god, it's so fucking annoying. Stop rephrasing the question. Just fucking answer the fucking question. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine I would probably be aiming to go vegan.
Okay, well, would you eat people?
can't imagine I would.
Can't
I
imagine.
mean,
Just
Right,
answer the
so-
question,
okay,
you fucking.
but I mean, but
So if you
like-
learned right, so if you learned all the meat you were eating right now,
Richard's on the attack now.
It wasn't chicken, it wasn't beef, wasn't whatever.
Uh-oh.
It was actually human beings who
Uh-oh.
were being lied to.
Sure.
And the only meat in existence is human beings. Would you go vegan tomorrow?
No, probably not.
So, let me give you a warning. If you are debating a one-trick pony, you better know everything about these arguments. When he's like running her down these, like, Richard has had this argument a million times before with a billion people before. If you're having to think this early in the debate about responses to these questions, you're fucked. You're ill-equipped for the debate. Whether or not Demon Mama is in the right or in the wrong, it sounds like she hasn't spent very much time thinking about vegan issues. I can tell based on the answer that she's given so far. She probably hasn't spent much time thinking about vegan issues. Why would she agree to debate this guy that's known as like a
Obama.
one-trick, like, fucking vegan debate master? Why would you do that?
Really, you'd still
I think that would be really
pay
difficult.
for humans to get killed and eat them.
Well, no, I mean, see, I think this is the problem that I always have. This is the approach that I have issues with, which is this idea that, like, I mean, first of all, I don't think you can just like the hypothetical of just saying human meat. Is
Sorry,
like,
to be fair, I'm being charitable to Demon Mama and assuming that she's not a dumb fuck. Maybe she spent a lot of time thinking about these issues, but she's just not very intelligent. It's probably more likely, actually. But
I think it's a shocking, like hypothetical, but I don't actually think it says anything. If we lived in a culture where human meat was normalized to the same degree that meat is now, where it was omnipresent, where almost no restaurants have options or menus or anything, where your government is subsidizing human meat, I have a feeling that you and almost everyone else in this audience would probably regularly eat human meat. I probably would too. I would like to think that I would be trying to cut it out of my diet, but if we put this into an actual like ancillary, if we wanted to make a fair hypothetical, we would have to come up with a world in which human meat was normalized, at which point I would be against that in the exact same way that I'm against it now. Which is that
Okay, so
obviously-
you're like I'm just asking you a yes or no question. So if
That's
you
interesting.
learned all the
That's
meat you've been
interesting.
eating so far was
I'm not here to give you a
humans,
yes or no answer.
and the only way you could stop would be to go vegan, would you go vegan tomorrow?
Wait, do you,
Yes
real
or
quick
no?
question. No, real quick question. Do you think are you trying to imply that that humans are more important than animals?
No, how can you not see what is happening, right? You said that it's taking you time. Let's think about what is Richard's argument here, okay? Let's extract the general argument, right? Would you eat animals instead of going vegan? Well, yeah, I am eating animals instead of going vegan. Okay, well, would you eat humans instead of going vegan? You know, maybe not. He's trying to draw an analogy to animals and humans. He's saying if you think that both of them are worth moral consideration, why is it okay to eat one, not the other? That's the simple question. This is like, we're not even at like a level 2 vegan debate yet. This is like the most fundamental, the most basic, like, you know, you're basically saying like, oh, you eat animals, but would you eat humans too? You don't understand. That's a really complicated, like, holy shit, how are you already lost at this point in the debate? Like,
Because that's
No.
what it sounds like you're trying to imply.
What I'm trying to ask is, well, what I'm about to, like, the point I'm trying to make is there's no morally significant difference between humans and animals.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I think it would depend very much on your moral framework, wouldn't it?
what a boring,
well,
no
like
shit
how
it
you
would.
approach it,
Yeah.
like some people would-
what I'm about to ask you will explore that. So.
Okay, well, I have something to ask you before, because you've asked me a couple questions. I want
Why
to.
would you ever say, well, is it okay to eat humans? Well, it depends on your moral framework. Like, is it okay to rape 2-year-olds? That's a really good question. It would depend on your moral framework. Like, what? Yeah, no shit. But that's literally what's being discussed here is our moral frameworks. No fucking shit, Sherlock.
Okay, well,
ask you
it's,
something.
like,
Do you
yes
think
or no
that,
question.
wait, well,
would
no,
you
no,
go
th-
vegan
no, I don't-
tomorrow?
I don't do
don't
yes
really
or no.
want. I don't really want to answer another yes or no question yet. I'll answer it in a second,
Well,
but I want
it's,
to turn. I want to turn to
simple
answer
yes
a question.
or no question. You
Well,
have to
I
answer
have a
it for
simple
this
yes or
debate
no
to
question for you.
progress. Okay.
Because I mean, remember, like you did come on here, and so I think it's fair that I ask a question.
Okay.
Dude, Mom, you
Would-
talk
do
like...
You, do you think that eating a bug is the same as like eating a human?
No, because they don't have sentient experiences. They don't have the same nervous
no.
systems that we do.
Okay, why?
Well, there's differences in sentience.
Mhm.
There's differences in ability to experience well-being. There's differences in lifespan.
But bugs feel pain still, right?
Yeah, but they don't have
Like, they
sentience.
Well,
rise when you shock
correct. Like, depending on the type of insect we're talking about, if it's like a non-carnivorous insect.
Oh, she's bouncing. See the bounces?
I would probably argue, yeah, there's probably a not morally significant difference between the human and an animal.
Oh, so like
I don't
bees.
know.
So you
Like
draw
if,
the line at
if we
insects. So
trait
what about? Wait a
equalize,
second.
if we,
oh, we're
if
not
we
done
trait
yet.
equalize the insect to the human, and the insect was, or sorry, the human was as intelligent or would live as long as the insect, I wouldn't be comfortable with killing and eating the human.
Wait, you mean the insect?
So, sorry?
You mean the insect?
Well, the differences I just mentioned for the insect, you know, sentience and whatever, like, yeah, like, if we're talking about your average human, I'd be committing far less harm by eating the insect versus eating your average human, but if we were to trait equalize the human, where the human had just as much sentience, intelligence, was only going to live a few months, I'd still be uncomfortable eating the human, even if all the morally significant differences were
Why is
accounted
that?
for.
Though? Can you just answer me why that would be?
Well, because they're sentient.
That's the
and
big one.
I'm
I thought you
not-
said we trait equalize.
Right.
So, if the bug was also sentient, and the human was sentient, and the traits were equalized, you would have more of a problem eating the human than the bug?
No. If they're equalized,
eat the human.
then if they're trait equalized, then it's the same.
Oh. Right, but
Like-
that would
like the
also mean that
point
they have the
I'm-
same level
like,
of
the
sentience
point-
as well.
Sorry?
That would mean they would have the same level of sentience as well.
Correct.
That's what trait
Right,
equalize
so
means.
why would
yeah.
you
Like,
care?
to get
why
back
would
to
you
the-
eat the?
Sorry?
Why would you eat the? Why would you eat the bug but not the human?
No, he's saying he
If
wouldn't
they're
eat
both
either.
both
I wouldn't.
sentient?
I
He said he
eat
wouldn't.
either.
Oh, okay. Well, what if you had to choose between the bug and the human? Which one would you eat?
It'd be a coin flip if,
Oh, if I
they're the same.
had to?
Yeah, if you had to
Sound
choose
like-
between a
well,
sentient bug and a sentient human, which one would you eat?
Are they trait equalized, or are we talking
Yeah,
about a
they're
normal
both gonna live
human?
the same amount of time. They both think and they both feel. Would you eat the bug or the human? If
Well,
you had
do
to
they
choose
think
one.
and feel to the same extent?
Well, yes, because you said they were trait equalized. So in this,
Okay,
in this
so in a
hypothetical,
situation
yes.
where they're trait equalized, then I'd see no moral difference.
Yeah, it'd be a coin
Okay.
If
flip.
anything,
So
I'd
which one-
probably
so
choose
you
a
would-
human, because
you'd eat
out
the
of all
human.
practicality, I'd get more calories and nutrition from eating a human.
Well, they were equalized though. The meat's the same.
Oh, okay, so if we're talking about a tiny human or a very large insect, then there's no moral difference to me.
So you would crunch down on a tiny baby or a human-sized insect if you had to choose between them.
If there's like no other option, like if I'm somehow forced to, but like to get
I need to
back
stop
to the
taking a
question I
second
asked
hit.
you,
Okay.
fuck me, what was I gonna? Oh yeah, if the only meat options you had were human beings, and if you go to the grocery store, it's not chicken, it's not steak, whatever you eat normally, it's just people. Would you go vegan tomorrow if that was your only way to stop from paying for people to be killed and eaten?
I don't think I'd be able to go vegan tomorrow. I think that would be very difficult, especially because there's
So
already stuff.
you'd-
Especially
Oh
because
my
there's already stuff
God.
that I purchased in my fridge. It's odd. See, the thing is like nobody actually pays.
So-
Well, hold on, I'm not done yet. You got to let me answer if you want to have a conversation. So, nobody actually pays for an animal to be killed.
Oh my
in
God.
capitalism, we go to the grocery store, and with our finite wages, we choose from a bunch of things that are put there more or less for us.
With my finite YouTube wages. Oh, dude, I don't know how Richard has kept his cool. He has like a fucking history of being temperamental as fuck. How is he being chilled through this conversation? Holy shit.
Corporations decide what they stock, they decide what's available, they decide the prices and all of that. We don't actually have that much choice, and no one ever goes, I mean, very rarely, maybe some rich people go and like personally have an animal slaughtered for them. Everybody else, the meat gets delivered there whether they buy it or not. And there is sort of a loose conglomerate of demand that economists can sort of back
Yeah,
and
that's not
fight
true.
over.
So there's a thing called supply and demand. If you don't pay for it, then that means there's going to be less supply.
Oh, wow. That's very high
So,
level economic taste.
so again,
Interesting.
if
Well,
if there was a human meat trade, would you tell everybody, oh well, there's no point in avoiding human meat because it's just going to be a supply that's going to be continually refilled. There's no option you have. So if there was an option between human meat,
hold on a second.
animal meat,
You're running
or
way
plant.
ahead of yourself.
Whoa, you spoke like
No,
more
no,
than
no,
10
no,
words.
No, so if
Yeah,
there was
see,
an option
you're doing the
between
vegan
human
thing
meat at the
again.
grocery store
Why
and
do you
everything
vegans
else,
do
would you
this?
would you make the
Do
same
what?
argument that there's no moral difference between eating human meat because oh well, it's a stock.
Oh,
that's
now here come the
replenished and you
faces.
have no choice
Here comes
how
the
stock
clown
is
show.
I
replenished.
have no idea what you're. I feel like you're not actually listening or trying to engage. And this is
Oh,
one of the things.
I
By the way, this
listen
is one of the
perfectly well.
things that really frustrates me about vegans because what happens whenever I argue with a lot of like really hard and dyed in the wool vegans, like these really hardcore vegans like yourself, is they come in.
Okay,
and
you
they
didn't
always,
answer my question.
I'm because I'm talking.
Oh,
that
we're
I
bouncing
get
a
well,
lot
you-
now.
I
Now
don't
we're
really wanna
really
listen to you
bouncing.
talk. I'd rather you
Oh
listen
man,
Get off my
we're
show.
revving up.
Okay, so what, like,
Then
if
get
you
off
wanted
my
to have
show.
a discussion,
No.
then
Hold
why
on.
are
This
you
is
just
really funny.
rambling about random bullshit? Just
hold on
answer
a
the
second.
question.
Excuse me. With all due respect, you asked to come on my show. You showed up in my chat.
You made a video saying that you wanted to debate me and that I wouldn't
I made a
because
video
I
like
avoided you or
over.
something.
No, I never said that once. I would love. In fact, can you find me the citation where I said that you
Let
that you avoided me?
me-
Because I know for
I
a fact
think I
that
just
you
had
never.
it open.
I guarantee you that clip never happened. If you can find me that clip, I would love it. I'll show it right now,
Yeah,
but I
had
know
it
you can't
opened
because I never said that.
recently.
I did mention at one point, I think we exchanged DMs, and I said that I was open to talking to you about it, but I didn't know if I ever would. And yeah, I was open to talking to you about it, which is why I invited you on. And you immediately, upon receiving what I consider to be very polite and very calm pushback on some of your views, have now started to fly off the handle and accuse me of things that you don't even know about. In fact, I think you mixed up my...
Oh,
well,
this is also, I don't know if I've ever pointed out this debate tactic. I think I have. This is also standard Demon Mama 101. Fuck, we've seen this happen in at least 2 other convos. One was with Vosh, and I don't remember who the other one was. But as soon as she starts losing a debate and she realizes that she's like hopelessly outclassed, once she's done that, she immediately, maybe discovering, she'll immediately start to go to this like, you're bad faith, you're being a bad actor, and then the conversation switches off the topic completely into her just accusing the other person of being bad faith and horrible, and she's trying to exit the conversation. So the conversation becomes about the conversation, it turns into a meta conversation, and the goal is to just leave. So at this point, I wonder if I would bet money on it, on the outcome of Demon Mama debates. It would be funny. If I was a betting man, I would almost bet money here that there is almost no chance that they will ever go back to the actual subject of the debate. I think the actual debate is over. I think what is going to happen now is exclusively going to be a conversation about their conversation until Richard leaves. But we'll see. Maybe they'll get back to it. We'll see what happens.
I get upset when people are deliberately dodging questions and arguments
what
and
makes you
trying to
think
derail
I've
discussion.
answered...
So I
Wait,
asked
excuse
you
me.
something very straightforward. I asked you if there was human meat on the shelf and there was every other option available, would you still use the same argument that, there's no point in it avoiding buying human meat because corporations are what control stock and you choosing not to buy human meat won't change anything. It won't save a single human being. So,
there's something very
would you still say that?
There's something very interesting happening right now, which is
Yeah,
that
you're still not answering the question. It's a yes or no question. You're still not answering.
That's very funny. But this is
well,
like,
it's not
by the way,
funny. It's annoying. So it's a yes or no question.
Vegan
Would
gains.
you still make
Vegan
that same
gains.
argument?
My dear God, vegan gains.
Do you see how she won't engage with the question?
Childish.
She's done. See, she's done with the debate. She's not going to go back to engaging with the
avoid
debate topic
answering yes or
anymore.
no questions. So I asked you a very straightforward question. Can you answer it?
Do you think that this is how humans talk to each other?
Well, I think this is how ignorant children talk to each other. At least it's going in the one direction. So I asked you a very straightforward question. Can you answer
It's a bit
it?
of a self. Did you just call yourself an ignorant child?
No, I called you an ignorant child. So can you answer a
Oh.
yes or no question, or are you just gonna filibuster, waste everybody's time, and ramble?
Yep, until he leaves. That's the
It's
goal.
a yes or no question.
It's really funny because
See?
you're actually proving my point right now. Extremely
Okay, well, you're proving my point that you can't answer a yes or no question.
I've
'cause you
answered
know
like
exactly
4 of
where
your.
it
She's
leads.
it's
just
really
waiting
funny,
for him to
actually,
leave.
Because
That's-
I tried
that's
to
it.
answer your question and you immediately interrupted me to go on a tangent about how I
No,
won't
you
answer a
didn't.
yes or
you
no
weren't
question.
attempting to answer a question. It's a yes or no question.
I'm gonna ask
and
you.
were just
Okay, it's my
rambling,
turn.
So
it's
it's
my
yes or
turn
no.
now. No, it's really funny. See, this
If
is
This is going to be
anything
a
other
really
than yes or
bad
no
faith
comes out of
question
your mouth,
about
then you're
vegan
not answering
debates.
a
Like, not
question,
about
so
this
yes
debate,
or
but
no.
about vegan debates in general. That's what she wants to
Can
ask.
you restate the question again?
Oh, fuck, never mind.
Right. So
Thought she was
if
gonna
there
ask another
was
question.
if there was human meat
We're
on store
bouncing a lot
shelves
now.
and
Oof.
every other
Oh.
option exists, so
Wait,
animal
yeah, there it
meat,
is.
plant-based options, would you tell people that there's no point in avoiding buying human meat because their purchasing decisions don't affect supply and demand, and corporations are controlling things like stock and production, so you're not going to save a single human by not buying human meat?
Will she answer?
Can I ask you one question before I answer that?
I'd rather you not, because
Well,
it's
but
a
I
simple
really-
yes
but
or
it's
no
a- it's a- I have a
question.
clarifying
I don't know
question.
what the point. I
Wait,
don't
but
know
I
what
have
the
a
point
but
is in
vegan
stalling.
gains, like vegan gains. I just have a, it's not stalling. I just have a question for you before I answer that.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see why you can't just answer that and
Well,
then
why?
I answer your
because
question.
because the weird thing is, I don't like it when weird freaks on the internet come on my show and tell me what I should and shouldn't do, and then when I answer like 3 of their questions,
I'm a
they
weird
continue.
freak.
Yes, you are a weird freak. You came into my chat looking for a
Okay.
conversation. You immediately started acting incredibly weird and passive aggressive, and then when I tried to have a normal conversation with you, you kept talking over me and trying to say answer the yes or no question. But I have another question that I want to ask you, and usually when civil people
Okay,
have a
go ahead.
conversation, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Did I ever once say that people did I ever once advocate in this entire conversation that people shouldn't avoid eating meat, or did I open this conversation?
You
This is a yes
literally
or- wait,
just
wait.
stated
Ah! I wasn't even finished. And you couldn't even let me finish, my friend. Let me finish my question. This is a very easy yes or no question. Did I open this conversation by saying nobody should buy